Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Thursday night. It is time for Revolutionary Change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager, and it is a good evening to you, Jen, and all of we've got a plethora of different people losing their minds today, don't we?
For so many different reasons, it seems. There's so much going on. What do you think people are most angry about?
Well, it depends on who you ask. There's a lot of different things to be angry about. But we're glad that you're all here this evening. We're kicking things off. We're already over 100 live viewers. Guys, please make sure that you smash that like button so we can get this out to everybody. I have to constantly remind everyone that we are a heavily shadow banned channel and are going to continue to be. So It is up to each and every one of you to make sure that these stories get out to as many people as possible. But I want to bring up a little something, a good palate cleanser to start the evening that I wasn't aware of, but I am now. Randy Fine blocked us on social media. And what I find always so interesting about a story like that is that if you look at the comment section on Randy Fine's X account, any of the accounts that he's on, I don't really have to elaborate what most of the comments are. I think you have a pretty good idea of what is said. So it's the only possibility that I can think of that would have somebody like the behemoth that is Randy Fine, that takes up 3 seats on an airplane, not 2. For him to actually block us on social media, in my opinion, it means that he is aware of this channel and he hate watches it. And maybe he gets some talking points that he has to share with his Zionazi friends.
I don't know. I think that's a big sort of jump from he blocked us to he hate watches us. I don't know.
Well, he is pretty pathetic and despicable and not so fun. Now, we debated where we wanted to start this evening. And I know we were going to start with the ADL, but I have to say, I don't think that's the best place to start.
Where should we start?
Where I think we have to start, because this is the most important thing going on in politics right now. I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of important things going on in politics, but if we are going to celebrate anybody, let's there she is. There she is. She just came into the shot for a brief second. Is she coming up to your side?
No, yes. she maybe in a minute, but yeah.
If there is an image that I want you all to remember Nancy Pelosi for, may this be the image for all time. That's who she is. And I want to remind you all why this is such a big deal.
Because she's ridiculous?
Well, I would say ridiculous is a very appropriate word to describe her, but it's nowhere near enough.
And we do recall, if unless people don't recall, that these particular kente cloths have no relation whatsoever to George Floyd's ancestry. I believe these particular kente cloths are like Kenyan or something like that. But it was just, they're just so, that's some caucasity right there.
Well, listen, you don't know what you're talking about. I am a very good friend to the Black people, especially those this.
All right, enough of this.
Yeah. But that's a pretty good indicator of what so many in this country had to deal with for such a long time. And as I've often felt, Pelosi was somebody who really, in so many ways, I know a lot of people think, oh, she's such a bad representative of the Democratic Party. No, I actually think she was the perfect representative of the Democratic Party. In fact, I can't think of a congressional representative that better embodied the post-Reagan Democrats better than her. Like, she really is the embodiment of somebody who initially came into Congress as a progressive, but then again, being a progressive was probably considered being a moderate in the mid-'80s. And so as the congressional representative of San Francisco, or the greater San Francisco area, for the past 4 decades, it's also incredible when you think about the examples that we could give of somebody like Pelosi, who just sat in Congress for ever.
Yeah.
And now we're in a situation, as you've pointed out, where she's very likely going to attempt to bequeath her throne, because that's what it is, to her
Yeah.
kid.
Can I add, and this is where, okay, when you're like, if we rewind a little bit, so you're saying she came into Congress as a progressive. I don't think she ever I don't think she ever came into Congress as anything of any ideology or any substance whatsoever. Nancy Pelosi is a rainmaker. It's that simple. Nancy Pelosi was the biggest bundler fundraiser for the Democrats. And that is what allowed her to get her congressional seat, was basically she is a rainmaker. And anybody who knows that is that in any business, the person who's the rainmaker is in charge. That's who's in charge. That's the person who brings the money is the person in charge, just as how it works. Which is why, even though you have her handing over the leadership to Hakeem, when of course they're not in a majority position, but she hands over the leadership to him. Does anybody really believe that he's the leader? Of course not. She's the leader. Now, whichever oligarchic, tentacles she passes that off to, and maybe she does. I mean, she is one of those people that does believe that she's probably entitled to bequeath her seat to her daughter. These people do believe that they should be allowed to determine who is after them.
Well, it's not just that. You also have to remember that of all the people that I could think of that is all about the pomp and circumstance, it's definitely Pelosi. This is a person who is looking forward to everyone giving her flowers over the next year plus. And then once he's officially out of Congress, there is no one who is going to be bigger or more financially compensated on the speaker circuit than this devil of a woman who did everything in her power for the past 2 decades plus to block every single progressive piece of legitimate legislation, who was 2 decades ago, incredibly, working on the Affordable Care Act that was over 1,000 pages long and says, we have to pass it first before we know what's in it.
Right.
That is
again, never progressive. She was never progressive.
Correct. And as a young, progressive-minded person at the time, little did I know in thinking that this was actually going to make healthcare better. As it turns out, the ACA, bummer care, turned out to make healthcare even worse. On the one hand, you removed pre-existing conditions as a means for getting coverage. And then at the same time, you allowed the private insurance and big pharma industry to take an even greater share over the system. Pelosi had as much to do with this as anybody. She is somebody who represented one or what was maybe at a time the wealthiest district, but for the most part was the 3rd wealthiest congressional district in the entire country. And this is supposed to be the Democratic Party. So she truly was there to oversee the complete odyssey of the Democrats becoming the Reaganites. That's basically.
Yeah, they're all the same. I mean, neoliberalism and capitalism go hand in hand, right? So it all works together. But she was never, again, I don't think she ever had a position or an ideology. She completely represents capital. She's always represented capital. She brought in the capital, and that is why she has her position. This is someone who probably her position is varied based on who's paying. And I also think that, you talk about how much money she will make on the speaker circuit. Yeah, I mean, she will. And that's more about, I think, an ego thing more than anything, because at the end of the day, the amount of money that she's made from insider trading, she doesn't need to ever do a speaker circuit. Like that's child's play money compared to what she's already gotten in investments and stock options and whatever else she does. Right. So, yeah. Good riddance.
And this is, again, the part where we and the libertarians really cross over. Nancy Pelosi publicly announced that all bank transactions over $600 must be reported to the IRS, which means that this is another tax on the poor, is basically what she's doing. Meanwhile, we're in the midst of the lockdown to end all lockdowns, and she's showing off her $12,000 ice cream freezer.
Right.
What was the ice cream again, Jen? I know
It's
you
the
remember.
Jenny's. It's the Jenny's ice cream.
And what makes the Jenny's so special?
They
What
just
makes-
have, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's good. There's cool flavors, but it's not necessary. It's not my favorite or anything. Like, I don't know. I think it's good, but it's not like that. But that's really not the point.
No.
She is a very, very out of touch, elitist, privileged white woman. That's what it is. And if there was ever a symbol of like what I think of in terms of white feminism, she's the poster child. She's the poster child for white feminism. That's how I think of Nancy Pelosi. And honestly, good riddance. Like I hope that the person who is challenging her that is more progressive, I hope that they have the money and the backing that they actually can get in there before it's her daughter. But at the end of the day, that district is sort of people like her.
I think you're right. And I also think that one of the reasons that she is stepping down, not just because she's a dinosaur, she's 86 years old, for God's sake. I think the reason she's stepping down is because she was getting a primary challenge from a very wealthy challenger. And I don't think she really wanted to get in the mud at her age, trying to defend her seat against somebody that could have brought millions of dollars to the table. I do think that in itself is a big part of it. And
so she steps aside. They put up her daughter as the establishment candidate, and they're able to sell that better. And she doesn't have the same skeletons and all that stuff. So they're able to sell that better to ward off anybody that would be coming after her, attacking her based on her ethics.
The thing that really stands out from this experience, which is a firm reminder, and we'll get into this with Nick and Jay of RBN at the top of the hour. I want you to keep in mind why being involved in the Democratic Party requires you to be a whore of the worst kind. And that includes getting on your hands and knees and talking about how much you love Nancy Pelosi. And I see this from people that just want to get their balls scratched just a little bit within the establishment.
It's so gross. It's so gross.
But if there's, and listen, I'm throwing shade at you, Rokana, and everyone in between that Nancy Pelosi this, Nancy Pelosi that. I want to show you something before I read the worst tweet of them all.
Okay.
Just keep this in mind, guys. There's a lot of things we could say about Nancy Pelosi, of which there is complete validity. But remember this, above everything else that we could talk about when it comes to the Queen Bee herself, she has an entire website devoted to her stock picks. This is a person who, through public life, has amassed a fortune that we're aware of, well over $200 million. This is a person who, when confronted about stock trading, said, this is a free market and we're allowed to trade stocks. That's her response.
Yes. Well, is it any different than any of the Capital tool responses? I mean, what would you think she would say? This is just excellent, but it'll be interesting watching everybody fawn over her. Like again, these are our employees. They're our employees. I don't understand. And they're very insubordinate. I don't understand why there's admiration for someone who came in however many years ago, suckled at the teat, profited immensely, just sat there at the, with the power and all that. To do what? What was accomplished in that other than her stock portfolio? What has she done? What has she done that's helped anybody as a Speaker of the House? Like, what did she do? And I'm not talking about her pre-perforated, whatever it was, thing with Trump where she ripped it. That was just so stupid. It's all performative. She's ridiculous. She's ridiculous. And the only people that like her are the vagina hat wearers. The vagina hat wearers, Nancy's their girl. Yeah.
I'm going to read a
statement. They probably also watch Rachel Maddow. Sorry.
I'm going to read a statement to you guys that I think will really get you to understand the depths of just how vile and evil this person is. From October 7th, 2024.
1 year ago, the world watched in horror as Hamas terrorists unleashed a monstrous assault on Israel. During their brutality on October 7th.
Don't do it with the voice. Don't do it with the voice.
Hamas slaughtered nearly 1,200 people, including more than 40 Americans, wounding thousands more and kidnapping hundreds of civilian adults and children. This horrific attack, orchestrated by a terrorist organization dedicated to the destruction of the state of Israel, was the deadliest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. Today and every day, we remember the victims of October 7th and the 6 hostages who have died in the year since. We keep their loved ones in our thoughts and continue praying for the release from all those that still being held in captivity by Hamas terrorists. America stands unwaveringly with the Israeli people and supports the right of Israel to defend herself. At the same time, our hearts break at the intolerable devastation and suffering of innocent civilians and families in Gaza. As we marked 1 year in this war, of all sides, must continue working to achieve a ceasefire and hostage deal on a path to a 2-state solution with just and lasting peace for Israelis and Palestinians. Give me your best liberal Zio answer. And that's what you get. This is also the same person who made the statement saying, and I quote, "If our entire republic had burnt to the ground and there was nothing left to bring us together but the state of Israel, we would still survive." There are a lot of people that you had a thought.
No, it's just, it's first of all, she's not dead. She's retiring. So I feel like the amount of pomp and circumstance is kind of ridiculous. And I'm not one for maudlin shit anyway. But I think that the only people that are really doing anything in terms of honoring, recognizing are bootlickers, okay, sycophantic, like that group. And then the people the libs that they don't know any better. They just don't know. Normal people don't care about Nancy Pelosi or not Nancy Pelosi or think she's all that. And yeah, I don't think so.
Don't you love the glasses? Isn't the glasses the whole thing? Putting them on and tearing up the paper and doing the dance and all that. I thought about playing the farewell video of Pelosi, but no, that would be a waste of time. What I do want to do is read the statement from maybe the most vile colleagues of hers that loves her just as much. I'm sure you all have a pretty good idea of who I'm referring to. Quite the Zionazi himself, and somebody who unfortunately is going to be in the U.S. Senate for probably the rest of his life. And that, of course, is Adam Schiff for brains. Nancy Pelosi will be recorded as the greatest speaker in American history. The result of her tenacity, intellect, strategic acumen, and fierce advocacy. Again, all fluff words, all.
But you can't name anything she's done. What has she done? It's unbelievable. Like, do you know how many speakers we've had in Congress that have pushed it through and gotten things done? I mean, that used to actually be a thing. So to say she's one of I don't understand. And what? Identity politics?
Yeah, well, how about the fact that you consider Nancy Pelosi to be a better Speaker of the House than Tip O'Neill?
Exactly. I mean,
who actually got considerably decent progressive legislation through when Reagan was president. Pelosi goes out of her way to get every single piece of corporate-backed legislation through, and no one stood on the train tracks harder to stop single-payer health care from ever getting a floor vote than this lady.
No.
And so as Schiff continues, she has been an indelible part of every major progressive accomplishment in the 21st century. Okay, so now you're going to hear what shitlibs think is progressive accomplishment of the 21st century. Her work in Congress delivered affordable health care to millions. Want to raise your hand about who's really got affordable health care? Created countless jobs, can't name a number. Raised families out of poverty. again, just blowing smoke, cleaned up pollution. No, actually, you made it a lot worse. Brought LGBTQ rights into the mainstream. Yeah, you got legalized gay marriage. Great job. And pulled our economy back from the brink of destruction. Not once. When?
What? Like what? What does that mean? When has anybody pulled us back from the brink of destruction? You bail out the billionaires, you bail out the banks, when is this is the kind of wordage that is just so hyperbolic, ridiculous.
Nancy Pelosi was not content to be a master legislator in Congress. She was a global leader. You mean like the time that she went to Taiwan, going over the head of the president, when that truly was traitorous grounds, what she actually did. She caused an international incident that we're lucky it didn't turn into an actual serious problem. And maybe it was, and maybe it was dealt with, but I digress.
And it's completely linked to her investments.
Oh, yeah.
That's those choices, those decisions when it was based on business decisions. Again, never forget, she's the rainmaker. She is all about bringing in money. That's what she does.
And not only that, but the people that laud things like the CHIPS Act, do you understand who's benefiting from this? We don't pass legislation in this country that benefits working people. We benefit the managerial class, the wealth class. Once in a while, labor might get a piece of the action. But on the one hand, while you have somebody like, let's say, Lena Khan under the Biden administration, you also have the first strike that was broken for the first time since Reagan. So this idea, this fluff job, I like using Schiff as a reference because if there is a shit lib representative in the U.S. Congress, he is one of the best representatives of that outside of the likes of Wasserman Schultz. He really embodies it. And he's a Zionazi scumbag on top of that.
And let's not forget how he got there. Let's not forget how he got there, because he got there by raising up, propping up, promoting, supporting, and funding the GOP candidate to be the second person so that he wouldn't have to go up against Katie Porter.
Mm-hmm. And now Katie Porter turned into Adam Schiff.
Right. It doesn't matter. And 6 of one, half a dozen the other at this point. But just in terms of like, he's a gross person. This is a gross person who knows he can't stand on his own merit.
Her voice carried far beyond the walls of Congress as she championed human rights and democracy, women's equality, and a healthier planet in her travels around the world. You mean her travels in a private jet everywhere she goes? Do you know that one flight across the country in a private jet will cause more of a carbon footprint on this planet than you as an individual cause in your entire lifetime?
Correct.
Do you know that?
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons people have issues with Taylor Swift.
Probably have a reason with a lot of people, but
yes, but I just mean in recent years in terms of the amount of private air travel.
Mm-hmm. She represented the U.S. on the world stage, trailblazing while balancing the demands of an unruly Congress. Yeah, take a shot at it's the GOP's fault too. And like Ginger Rogers, she's probably as old as Ginger Rogers, she did it backwards and in heels.
I hate that. That's so identity ridiculous. Talk about the 80s called. Adam, the 80s called and they want their political, acumen back. Seriously. She did it backwards and in heels. Really?
Despite that steadfast advocacy on the world stage, there was never any question as to the speaker's commitment to her home, San Francisco. You mean the place that she drove into the ground over the last several decades? Today, no visitor to the city will be able to miss the enduring mark that her work has made.
You mean that nobody can afford to live there?
The most expensive city per capita.
Washington,
D.C. is taking it over now, but nevertheless.
What's her enduring legacy?
From the restored and beautiful Presidio, the expanded Golden Gate National Park, improvements to BART, and the construction of the Trans-Bay Transit Center, and a cleaner San Francisco Bay that is better protected from the ravages of climate change. Nancy Pelosi is also my mentor and friend. She has believed in me, given me opportunities, and been a guiding light for me. And I know that my story is one of hundreds in the Congress. Nancy never gave out easy assignments, but they were always important and uniquely suited for one's talents. She always knew who to turn to at exactly the right moment. Throughout our days,
Yes, that's what she did. She knew who to turn to at the right moment, meaning she knew who to get the money from at the right moment. That's that.
Throughout our decades of service together, her North Star was always clear. Her work, as she often said, was for the children. She did it for the kids. She did it for the kids, even if it meant throwing or taking a punch. Let me tell you something. Here's two people that can't take or throw a punch. I guarantee it. I am lucky enough to have raised two of those children in a world that is brighter, healthier, and more prosperous, thanks to the sheer determination of Speaker Pelosi. California will not see another champion that is committed, as capable, and as filled with the progressive spirit as Nancy Pelosi, not for a very long time. And I look forward to seeing what she will accomplish in her remaining time in Congress and in the future. Aren't they just a dazzling little...
And you know what? I'm going to tell you exactly what she'll accomplish. Nothing. She'll increase her stock portfolio. She'll increase her friends' stock portfolios. She'll do whatever Capitol wants her to do. And that's it. And she'll do it backwards and in heels. See, that's the beauty of Nancy Pelosi, is she really does show that women can be equally as disgusting and corrupt as men. That's if you want to say that's really showing up for women, I would agree. She really does demonstrate that.
The last thing I'll mention about her is that she was very, very close with Wasserman Schultz. She made frequent trips to South Florida to go to fundraisers in the very wealthy Western Broward suburbs, in the gated communities. And the people that I know are somewhat well-intended in politics, but they have the opportunity to go to these little private shindiggies because they're corporate bootlickers of the establishment. They fawn over this woman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You think people fawn over Trump? You have no idea how they fawn over this. They cry. They think this woman's like a god.
Yeah. It's like Jesus.
Nancy Pelosi. And it's like you want to ask them, could you please explain exactly what it is that she did to make your life better? I just want to know. I want you to name one thing. You can't.
Not one thing. Not one thing.
To the people who really matter in this country, Nancy Pelosi will not only not be missed, she will be remembered as one of the leading figures that destroyed the United States of America in the past 4 decades.
And very specifically, the Democratic Party. Like when they want to do, if they ever do like, Monday morning sort of, regroup and try to figure out like, where did we go wrong? Which I don't think they would do that. But she's very connected to a big chunk of that historically as to where they went wrong with their corporate shit. And so, yeah, she's a very big part of where they went wrong.
I want to give a final shout out on this topic to, of all people, Jimmy Dore, because 5 years ago, we stood alongside Jimmy and said, yeah, you need to force the vote on Pelosi's speakership and get a floor vote on single payer healthcare. And every last one of you who refused to step up and hold AOC's and the rest of those squatty people's feet to the fire, do you think Nick Fuentes and his gang of groypers and everyone else that he's building this America First, however nationalistic a movement it may be, do you really think, if given the opportunity, that he would light a fire under their ass if they tried the same thing, as he has made very clear to the Vice President of the United States? You support Israel, and we will fuck your chances of ever becoming president. You think anybody has ever done such a thing to Pelosi? No, they never did. And in my opinion, that's the legacy that so many people who had an opportunity to stand up to her, and they did. Let me assure you, 6 votes. That's all it needed. You needed to withhold 6 votes from Pelosi becoming speaker, and you could have a fucking floor vote on Medicare for all, and you didn't take it. You didn't force the hand. No, you were too concerned with access. And this is to our friend Ryan Grimm and anybody else who said, well, Jimmy's the one leading this. So that's when Sam Cedar changed his mind, Emma Vigeland, and you can line them all up. They all decided our access to these people is much more important.
Yeah.
How do you feel now 6 years later? How do you feel now about where our country is? Because our country's in fucking hell. Completely. And it's only getting worse.
It just wouldn't have mattered anyway, but that's neither here nor there.
I still think getting people's names on the record.
I know. I just don't know. Like I'm not certain why we're talking about that now.
Because Pelosi needed to be held accountable for how she governed this, for how she legislated in leadership on this country. And she was never properly held accountable for it. And the people chose to blindly look at her leadership and never question it. Never question that she was just as bad, if not worse, than Newt Gingrich and anything he did alongside Bill Clinton. Although maybe we'll say Gingrich and Clinton were worse, but she was still really effing bad.
She was terrible.
Ever stood up for working people, ever.
She was never supposed to. Why would people think that somebody who is the biggest rainmaker of the Democratic Party would get into Congress and be fighting for working people? Why would anybody have ever thought that ever? So she probably doesn't even know working people.
Not with that ice cream freezer, she doesn't. Retire in hell, Pelosi. Retire in hell. I thought we could go in a couple of directions. You tell me where you would like to go. I know
I don't see any of the things we had talked about, like the two articles that I had sent you. I don't see them here.
Oh, I don't know if Colin has them. We could pull them up.
If you didn't, I sent them to you.
Okay.
Like whenever it was yesterday. You know what? Yeah. So we need to go on to something that we have, because obviously that's not what you want. There's plenty of stuff to talk about without those things. So
I actually thought when it came to healthcare, are you upset?
No.
So I actually thought that, and bear with me for 1 second, guys, because I'm going to pull this up. I thought that I had sent this over. No, you also, with Colin, make sure that if you're forwarding me something that you want to talk about also.
No, he only needs one point of contact with us. That's why I figure I send it to you and then you forward to him the stuff for tonight. It doesn't matter at this point. I'm telling you, there's plenty of stuff here.
Yes, I understand that. I want to make sure that I get the right story over.
Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about Sheinbaum or ADL?
Do you want to talk about Sheinbaum real quick?
Well, no. We can't. Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see any of those here.
No, I want to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts on Sheinbaum because of the fact that, we're talking about one of the best leaders that we have in the world right now. And this is somebody who unfortunately has to deal with the tribulations of what it means to be a female leader who is easy on the eyes, but that also can lead to a lot of problems, including assault, among other things.
Yes. So that's why I sent you the story, to put up the story, because I don't know all the details as to what happened. But apparently President Sheinbaum of Mexico was groped. And I really that's why we could have waited till we have the article, because there's
I'm sending it over to Colin right now. So continue.
Well, that's as far as I know without looking at the article, but she is pressing charges, and good, but it's really I just think it's very telling. I just think it's very, very telling that this is where we still are.
Yeah. Now, Sheinbaum is definitely the type of leader who is making an impact right now in a very positive way. But unfortunately, Mexican women outraged by public sexual assault on their president, humiliating groping of Claudia Sheinbaum, a Jewish leader who, mind you, is not in favor of the state of Israel, probably why they try not to talk about it too much, because it's not good for business. Humiliating groping of Claudia Sheinbaum by drunken man prompts widespread condemnation. Scroll, Colin. Yeah, she doesn't look too happy.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
The groping of Mexico's Claudia Sheinbaum by a drunken man has sparked outrage among women, many of whom saw their own fears and experiences reflected in her plight. The president suffered assault with that level of protection, and those guards, it means that all of us women can be assaulted at any moment. The incident took place on Tuesday while Sheinbaum walked through a crowd in Mexico City. The man tried to kiss her on the neck and embrace her from behind before she removed his hands and an aide stepped in. The man was later arrested, and Sheinbaum said on Wednesday that she would press for charges. This is something I experienced as a woman, but it is something that all women in our country experience. If I don't file a complaint, where does that leave all Mexican women? If they do this to the president, what happens to all the other women in the country?
Can I also interject something? Does everybody notice that this man was automatically labeled as drunk? You see that? You see how that there's like a qualifier. He did it, but he was drunk. Why does that matter that he's drunk? Why do we care that he was drunk? No, because what that's doing is it's trying to lessen and lower accountability, responsibility, and take it away from the just clear, disgusting misogyny that we're talking about and make it be like, oh, he was just drunk. Boys will be boys. Same shit. Same shit. Continue.
It was really humiliating. I felt angry, enraged, and impotent. For some women, watching the country's first female president being groped in public was a personal affront. The incident touched off particular furor given the high levels of violence faced by women in Mexico, where an average of 10 are killed every day. In the first 6 months of this year, more than 500 women were murdered because of their gender in a crime known as femicide. The issue of assault is like the base level on the violence thermometer, and it culminates in femicide. So living in a femicidal country, the issue of assault is always there. The high rates of violence have fueled the feminist movement, with tens of thousands of women taking to the streets every year on International Women's Day. The groping incident prompted indignation across the political spectrum. The president lived with what thousands of women experience on the streets, out in public, at work. This assault, this touching, that is so invasive of our bodies as women. Senators from various parties held press conferences on Wednesday condemning the assault against Sheinbaum. Yeah, this is behavior that is, again, far more common. And again, as men, we generally don't have to deal with this issue. Jen?
Oh, no, I thought you were still reading. Well, I've said it before. I mean, I personally do not know an adult woman who has not been violated in some capacity. And the violation spectrum is wide. I mean, it goes from everything from like dirty jokes, just disgusting jokes, to, you know, like Bill Cosby, you know, like it's a very wide spectrum of like assault. But I mean, it's so obvious. And I would like to know, why is it that her security isn't better? Like, why is someone able to come up behind her in the first place? Why is somebody able to touch her? You know what I mean? Like, it's infuriating to me. I feel like it's outrageous. Like, how dare somebody put his hands on her? Like, she should have the kind of security where that person, that their hands get just like, you just take their hands and just break them right there. Like, the end. Put his hands on her. Unbelievable.
And not entirely surprising here. Alicia Gutierrez, a 40-year-old nurse, is keenly aware of the dangers facing women on public transport. Often, she says, men get just a bit too close, and once a man started fondling himself in front of her on a bus. Ugh. Yeah, I've heard these stories.
Okay, I've had that happen, but it was at a construction site. Point being, like I'm saying, all women, we've all had this. We've all had this. I could probably have every woman who's in this chat put down, like, you know, and confirm that they have all had some form of assault on their person or their dignity or whatever as a female person. Seriously. So this is just, it's gross.
It's a firm reminder of just how bad things can get for people who are especially trying to do good. That's another problem. You don't hear this story being covered in the States. Frankly, you don't hear anything about Sheinbaum because what her politics revolves around is social democracy. And that's not acceptable, especially with what's going on in our country. And right now,
and I've said it before about with Trump with her. He does not know what to do with her.
No.
Because he's not going to bully her. It won't look good. He's not going to bully her. She's way smarter than him. And and she's attractive. So he can't put her in like the, Angela Merkel category, right? And she's not like one of his GOP Barbies, right? So he doesn't know what to do with that. So I think they steer clear of her.
Now, this apparently is a clip from what did happen. Whoa.
Are you kidding?
That's even worse than I thought. No wonder she's.
Yes.
See, he snuck up on her.
He came up. I knew he came up behind her, but I didn't realize he grabbed her breast.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm disgusted. Look at this guy. Watch the hands.
He's got his hand on her ass.
Right now it's on his ass. Well, watch the other hand. The other hand's around her. Look at.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm livid.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. She's way more gracious.
And he's still getting in her face.
And
what the fuck kind of security do you have? Are you trying to get her killed?
Well, they don't have that same kind of issue there like we have here. They're not all walking around with arms there like we are here. But yeah, she definitely needs to increase her security. But she was way gracious to him. And it didn't look like she was going to so I'm curious to see how this continues because, it ends here in terms of this video clip, but something happened that forced her to press charges. So it wasn't So, I mean, I don't know if he kept going.
Like the guy looks like a total fucking punk. And again, this is a mark. It's also a mark of certain types of men that have these hands that they want to use, that they would use on a woman, but they would get absolutely destroyed by another man. And it's a dominance thing. It's, yeah, she's attractive, but who in the fuck gave you permission?
Oh, again, she needs better security. You know what I mean? She needs some martial arts type of, trained good security. Because that guy's hand should have never been anywhere near her. Why was her back exposed in the first place? Why could anybody just come up behind her?
Yeah, and for our Mexican friend that is here, yeah, I certainly hope that she doesn't stop either. I mean, it's obvious that one of the things that can ultimately end up happening as a result is now she's like, well, now I guess I can't get too close to people.
I don't think she will. And that's true that it is sad. But that's always how everything that we have where the fun is taken away is because somebody couldn't play nice. Somebody took it too far. And so now we can't have this anymore. Like jarts. We used to have jarts, but then too many kids got stabbed. And so they had to stop making them. But there was always that, or metal lunch boxes, because they would get rusty and we'd also, toss them around and hit each other in the head with them. So yeah, somebody has to get hurt and then it ruins it for the rest of us. But that's what must have happened. That's what's going to happen. But I hope that she still goes out and does public stuff because it's one of the coolest things about her.
I do too.
But she needs to have better security. Claudia, you need better security. And if someone puts their hands on you, it should be the last thing their hands touch. Seriously.
That's right in his fucking balls and then in his nose. Give it to his nose and then knee him in his balls.
But notice that in the articles, they will continually point out, I'm sure, that he was intoxicated.
Of course. And you know what?
As if that's relevant in some way.
Of course, he was intoxicated. Who gives a fuck? That just makes it worse.
But that's just one of those things that they love to put in there. They have to put in a qualifier.
But remember, we live in a country.
He groped her, but he was drunk.
Yeah. But we have to keep in mind that we live in a country where, listen, if we could say one decent thing about Obama, it's that he was not that type of guy. But Biden is. Trump certainly is. Clinton was. I don't know about W. He was a drunk for a very long time.
He was a cokehead.
Cokehead, all that. Who knows? With all of them, it's a power. It's a power thing as much as anything. and women need to protect themselves. And I've often said, when it comes to arming ourselves in this country, women need to be packing a lot more than men do.
Yeah, see, this is what grosses me out. And by the way, that's exactly what Joe Biden did to Lucy Flores.
Oh, yeah.
When he came up behind her, sniffed her, kissed her on the head, put his hands on his shoulders and kissed the back of her head. And that disgusted me every bit as much as this does. And it wasn't a grope. It was a sniff and a kiss, which is, yeah. And that I would just like, again, that was Joe Biden did that to the woman running for lieutenant governor of Nevada while she was about to go on stage and give a speech. Never met her before, came up behind her, sniffed her, kissed her, put his hands on her shoulders. See, that is a certain level of entitlement right there.
Yeah, but
so gross.
The best one was Gloria Allred's daughter. Her name is slipping me right now. She's a pretty known attorney. And she said to Tara Reid, "I believe you, but I'm supporting Biden." I was like, yeah, maybe you were better off just not saying anything. That would have been a smart move. So we don't have much time before our guests come here. So we're going to do Zohran last, but it's going to be good. So we'll have plenty to cover. But there is a little something. Colin, can I please get that clip with Trump? I want to show you guys something regarding healthcare, which I think is very, very important. Now, for those of you who've obviously been paying attention to what happened earlier today, Trump had a press conference in the Oval Office regarding the relationship that he has now with Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, and how they are cutting the cost of pharmaceutical drugs with these major pharma giants by 75%. That's wonderful. But we all know why it's only them, because there is clearly a what you would call a secret handshake deal going on with Trump and Eli Lilly. This isn't because he gives a shit about lowering the costs of prescription drugs and healthcare costs. If he did that, they would have single-payer healthcare in the United States. But instead, this is the shit that we get stuck with. And I know it's just, I mean, I know that I get upset about this. I know you get upset about it. But there was also something recently that came about that I thought was very telling. If you guys remember Scott Adams, and I can pull the tweet, and Colin, please check your phone. Scott Adams is somebody who, again, he invented the Dilbert comic. I don't really have much to say about him. He said some pretty outlandish things, to say the least. But what he did say was that he is stricken with cancer and he needs help, and that he is hoping that the president of the United States will step in and get him the help that he needs.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. And then, of course, because he really likes the president, he said he would step in and help him. Imagine living in a country where you can reach out to the president and he will just automatically give you a helping hand. Or if you actually had a single-payer healthcare system, we wouldn't need to rely on something so ridiculous.
Yes,
but
that is
that's
true.
where we are. We have to rely on people's generosity to get healthcare in an emergency situation. But because it's so damn profitable, you have to masquerade around like this is what's really the way that the system should be. I don't know how anyone looks at this and thinks, yeah, this is completely normal. This is
normal. Where people will spend, a collective group of oligarchs will spend $40 million to fight against people having things, as opposed to just spending the $40 million for people to have things, right? Like, think about how insane that is. So absurd. This is where we are, though. This is where we are.
Nordisk is in the middle of a potential $10 billion acquisition for a smaller obesity biotech. They might need your and the FTC's help to see that through. Do you have any issues with that, or Eli Lilly buying a smaller obesity biotech from an anti-competitive
Well, I don't
standpoint?
know. Do you want to talk about that? I'd like to hear it. Maybe you should give us a piece of the company like I've been asking for.
So
Oh, that sounds like a good idea. That sounds like a great idea. Let's give him a piece of that company.
So
What
the
could go
president,
wrong?
so the president wants the government to own a piece of the pharmaceutical company, but no, that's not what he means. He's not talking about
No.
the government owning a part of the healthcare system in order to reduce the cost. No, it's, hey, that sounds like a really great idea. How can I get a piece of that? Because it sounds like I can make
Yes,
more money.
exactly. It's how can we, yes, it's about his investment portfolio. It's not about the government actually being involved in that process. It's about him getting a cut.
If we had a government-funded healthcare system, then Eli Lilly and all of the pharmaceutical drugs that they put on the market at probably 1,000-fold more expensive than what they really are, would never be able to do such a thing. Because that's how it works in every other developed country in the world. As our good friend who's about to join us, who is on dialysis, in a normal functioning country, this would just be, oh, you need it? Okay. Oh, come on in. No big deal. Here, you have to beg and pray that you don't die.
Yeah, but dialysis is one of those things that's just extremely profitable. And so they have every incentive to just keep people on it.
Of course, that's the whole point. And even though and that is the other reason why healthcare, again, doctors, nurses, this is still the free market. They can make whatever they want, but healthcare as a right is not a profit business. It can't be. The only way you can make it a profit business is if you keep people sick or you kill them. That's it. There is no other option. So anyone who complains about the health system in this country, but doesn't realize that single payer is the only solution, then you don't actually care about solving the problem. And you've been fed a lot of, we'll just say, propaganda as a means to not actually understanding why it works in other parts of the world. And don't give me the freaking Canada excuse. Just look at the countries that actually get it right. All countries have problems, but you know what? I would trade this system for Italy's system, for France's system, for Japan's system, for Australia's. I would trade it for China's system.
Spain. Mexico.
Mexico.
Cuba.
Cuba.
Yeah.
Say a lot of things about Cuba. You'll never hear a thing. You won't ever hear a bad thing about their health system. In fact, when shit hits the fan in other parts of the world, Cuba sends their doctors to other places to help people. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? We'll finish it up.
Give the United States a nice big chunk of the company.
So Novo Nordisk and Pfizer right now are in the middle of an acquisition dialogue and discussion.
It's you and Pfizer?
It's us and Pfizer.
Competing for the company?
Competing for the company.
Who's winning?
And as of today, our bid is higher. And our message to Pfizer is that if they would like to buy the company, then put your hand in the pocket and bid higher. It's a free market.
There's your free market, Peter. You always talk about how you appreciate the free market.
I have agreed with you time and again. Leave education, healthcare, and corrections alone. And again, you can put police under the branch of corrections, which a lot of people refuse to do.
I would put the police not existing and have abolition. So then, yeah, that would be my pick. So there you go.
But I'm also saying that if you want to reduce this problem, this is one of those ways to do it. Single payer is the only solution, and anyone who continues to pretend like it isn't. Case in point, look at this. People are spreading this around like Trump was somehow pontificating this idea that, oh, yeah, the government's going to... No, he's just looking for a way to get more rich. This is, this is it. I am the president, and technically I could take a piece of your action if I really wanted.
Exactly. He's just trying to get a cut.
Single payer now, single payer forever. This is the only way forward.
It's the only way.
We have been looking forward to this conversation for a while. Now, obviously, we have had our good friend Jay on before, and we have not spoken to Nick in quite some time. But as you guys know, the other revolutionary podcast, Revolutionary Blackout Network, has been doing excellent work. I hope a lot of you guys are familiar with as we have been doing the same non-duopoly political maneuvering, because that is the only way forward. And we've got a lot to talk about. Nick Cruz, welcome back. Now, for the first time, to Revolutionary Change.
Hi.
Hey, what's poppin', my friend? It's great to be here.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be in conversation with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I never wanted you guys to think, you won't know this, but as a mom person, when you're getting ready to name your kids, like you don't like the idea of other people copying you so that their kids have the same name as your kid because you kind of want to be original and stuff. And I don't want you guys to feel like we copied on the name thing, but I really needed it to not be me anymore. I needed it to be, and I also started feeling more revolutionary. But yeah.
A lot of people have. The last few years radicalized a lot of people, and what I view as my responsibility is trying to guide the working class into the right direction after they have been misled by gatekeepers for a very long time. So there are a lot of people who were significantly to my right who criticized me for a lot of my critiques, who later came around like, oh, I see where you was coming from now. They see the class element. So we always got to give people chance to grow and evolve, and I'm always one to do that. I'm always one to keep that line of dialogue open, even people we have words before. So it's great to be on the channel, and obviously you guys, I didn't even think about you guys still in the name, because I think everyone wants a little bit of revolutionary change. So
yeah, and I wanted to redo our colors. I needed, we just needed a rebrand. We needed a facelift.
Well, you're not alone, and of course, your good buddy and a friend of the show, Jay Bufont. Welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Hey,
what's popping, brother? I didn't know Jay was going to be here. What's going on, brother? What's popping?
Good to see everybody here. Good to be back with you guys. Yeah, it's been a lot of news going on lately, and one of the things that I do want to mention is that, especially in regards to healthcare, I'm a little bit more radical. I say, single payer healthcare system is not good enough for me now. I want a fully nationalized healthcare system, because we actually have to get profit out of the hands in these companies that want to, including take money from our government in order to enrich themselves. Got to get rid of that too. So I think a fully nationalized healthcare system similar to the Cuba model, I think, is something that we should have.
Jay, can you right off the bat get into, you personally could have lost your life as a result of the American healthcare system. And I always think it's interesting when you hear people talk about, well, I don't want that healthcare system. And I often think that the only people who talk like that are people that have never faced death in the face. And then as soon as they face it, the radicalization of their opinion about the healthcare system changes like that.
Absolutely. And this is the sad part and this is, I think, where empathy is absolutely necessary with people who have never went through something, and then they try to feel what other people are feeling. And it's sad that we live in a country where a lot of people who they don't want to change until it affects them directly, or it affects somebody around them directly. But the thing when it comes to healthcare, especially within this nation, is that if you've always had good healthcare, to you, the system works. Mm-hmm. The problem is that there's too few of people who have the levers of power, and they're not uncomfortable enough. And that's one of my biggest issues, is that they're so comfortable to the point where they think that, oh, well, the system is good, so what do we have to change it for? Meanwhile, millions upon millions of people who are, and a lot of times you talk about the uninsured, but we need to talk more about the underinsured. Yes. The people who are spending thousands and thousands of dollars just for somebody to give them a yes or no to something that saves their life. What kind of dystopian BS is that? Well, we're actually asking a third party to tell us, oh, well, you know what? You guys should approve that surgery, or you shouldn't approve that surgery or that certain treatment. No, it should be between a person and your doctor. And for people who sit there and defend us not moving to a nationalized healthcare system, they're like, oh my God, that's socialism. Here's my question. Do you really, if you're all about body autonomy and not having people in between, then why do you find that okay for insurance companies to get in between you and your doctor? The math ain't math in there to me. It doesn't make any sense. And so that's why I'm such a big proponent of nationalizing the healthcare system. Because if you really want to have just a relationship between you and your doctor, then it should be between just those two entities. It should not be between you, your doctor, and some third party person that doesn't even know you. And there was a doctor recently a surgeon that does she does breast reconstructive surgery, but this is more in line with women who have cancer. And I'm not sure if you guys saw it. I'm blanking on the
Yeah,
doctor's
she got
name.
called out of her surgery to go deal with that. She had to
Exactly.
scrub out of surgery to go and deal with the insurance company questioning if this patient needed to spend the night.
Exactly. And the thing is like when she was on the phone, she wanted to get their name and the number that, you know, that they're under so she can see if they're actually her peer so that she can, you know, let them know like, hey, if you're my peer, if you know everything that I know, then you should know that this person needs an overnight stay in the hospital and this should be without question. But the thing is, like, the person that was answering her question was not in the exact same field as her. So therefore, he was making an educated guess based on something that he's not specifically a specialist in. And so why in the world would I go to somebody who specializes in brakes for my transmission? And they never even touched my car. They never even looked there under my hood. That doesn't make any sense. So why are we doing that with our own bodies? Our own health? That doesn't make any sense. But that's the capitalist system. And that's how it operates because it's built on exploiting us, not just for our labor, but for our own bodies too.
And that shows how capitalism is inherently wasteful in an inefficient system. And we cannot emphasize that enough. And that's another reason why I believe we need to have an anti-capitalist third-party movement. Because what is the Democrats' answer for this? They shut down the government so we can fund subsidies that go to insurance companies that justify raising their profit while they keep healthcare costs high. So to explain how insane Obamacare is, instead of providing national healthcare, our government pays insurance companies to cover people who have high premium, and they still get denied service. They still pay an arm and a leg. It's not even a effective system. It's a system to keep profits in place, which is another benefit for them having privatized healthcare in the United States, because you have less leverage over your employer if your healthcare is literally reliant on you having that said job. So you are less likely to try to organize a union. You're less likely to press the management if you cannot quit your job because you have healthcare. I know people in my personal life who would love to quit the job they have, but they don't have no healthcare. You guys see the class war element and why it's super important for the ruling capitalist class to not provide a simple thing as healthcare. It's a bargaining tool to them, and it's sick.
It keeps us in the fiefdom, right? Like it keeps everybody as serfs, because if you had just healthcare and you could just do what you want and leave your job, you could do a lot more entrepreneurial things. You could do a lot more creative things. You could be doing what you want to do. And instead, you're stuck as a cog in their factory, in their machine, because that's the only way you're going to be able to live. And that's exactly why that's why they fight against it so much. It isn't even just the profit. It's the control.
Yeah. And the whole system is constructed so that we can basically, I mean, again, if the powers that be had it their way, we would be slaves. We would all be slaves. There's a serfs class that they want. And that's why, somebody like, give credit where credit's due. There's a reason why Elon felt the need to go on with Rogan last week to talk about Mamdani, because even though Zohran is probably going to do very little, just the thought, just the conversation of you could actually have a decent life, and they are so afraid that the people are going to rise up against them. And I believe we are going to have a revolution in this country. It's too obvious at this point that you can't look at this system and think that it's salvageable. And then I was thinking about Zoran's win the other night, and then you see today how everyone is up Pelosi's ass who's a Democrat. And it's like, just remember, if you even think about going back to this party, this is what's coming, and it's going to continue. They'll do it for Schiff. They'll do it for Schumer. They'll do it for everybody. But what they are going to do with Zohran, as I'm sure you guys are already picking up on, is now he's a Trojan horse that they're going to try to fundraise off of and try to save their party's asses.
Unfortunately, they're sharding their pants right now, particularly because even if there's a chink in the armor, right? If there's a crack in the hull, let's say hypothetically he does something that makes it just a little bit easier, just slightly easier on the working class. Well, then that actually makes it easier for us to be able to organize, build dual power, and build elements ready for a revolution. Like, for instance, if people are not, like, for instance, I agree with freezing the rent, right? But if you freeze the rent, then that means that people aren't struggling as much, which means that they have more money and time to be able to devote towards mutual aid and building dual power. And so that means that the soil is a little bit softened. You know, the three of us, we're in Florida, so we know exactly what it's like, especially when the ground gets really saturated during a hurricane. We know what's about to happen. And so the thing is, like, this may be just a little bit more saturation in the ground that makes it a little bit softer, more malleable. So then if in case something happens, now's the time for us to be able to get things popping to build dual power. And so this is why I tell people, when after the win of Zohran Mamdani, is that if you are on the left or if you are an activist, it's time to ramp up everything now. Yeah. You have somebody that has some political capital, and yes, he's going to be a moderate at the very least. He's going to be another de Blasio probably, but you stay on his ass, and then you build, and then you say, oh, well, he's doing these things. Imagine what we can do if we went even further. And then that's, you start to put that in people's brains, and they go, man, Zohran Mamdani, he ain't nothing. We could do so much better. And so that's and then we reverse the ratchet effect. And then it's not even incremental. It's that we start to shift everything to the left, hard to the left. And I think that's one of the benefits of being able to inspire people, especially at a time like this.
I want to show you guys a clip from somebody who is a revolutionary, somebody that Jen and I support wholeheartedly. Revolutionary Change PAC, if you guys are not aware. This is a person who does get it. And that, of course, is Butch Ware.
Mamdani has a great future, but the Democratic Party does not. Sure. I mean, this is still a party that's complicit in genocide. Running as a democratic socialist is different than running, you know, under the Team Blue banner. But we have seen folks that come out of, you know, DSA or Working Families Party, you know, start drinking that blue Kool-Aid and, you know, start compromising with the corporate wing of the party. Yeah. So I know, just because I know his pedigree and I have people that vouch for his character inside the community, that the brother has been about the right things and understands the right things. And I made, you know, posts supporting him before the election, and I'm standing 10 toes down with him. At the same time, we need to hold him accountable. Sure. Because the last thing that we need is somebody in our community to go that AOC route.
Yeah.
You know, no, Nick, please.
Yeah. I'm worried that Zohran Mamdani has the potential of being a tranquilizing drug for the left. And I would never attack anyone in New York who is desperate because the cost of living is insane and people are desperate to find an opportunity to fix this problem. But Mamdani is not giving us health care. He's not giving us universal health care. He's not freeing Palestine. He's not increasing the national minimum wage. It's a local movement, and I hope them the great success. I'm very pessimistic about his chances, but we can't use that as a way to organize within this party that is a dead end. It's a dead end for movements. And I think the Democratic Party should be completely off the table after what they did in Gaza. Like, to me, like it's Nazi behavior. Like, you had Democratic senators that openly, like John Fetterman, saying that we should kill them all. Like, will you organize with a Nazi party just to increase the minimum wage? Like, that's how I personally view it. I am more of a believer of us forming our own outside governments. We can use like big moments like these as a narrative win, like against the Zionists and the capitalist class. Yes. But I want people to maintain their focus and maintain the fact that we got to take care of our neighbors, build our power outside the system. And Mamdani, like he said before, his main priority is to save the Democratic Party. I don't think that's a long-term feasible plan for the working class. But I do wish them best success in organizing wins for the working class. I just think we need to keep our head on a swivel and not allow this to be a tranquilizing drug, because that's just one city, one city and their battle is just beginning, the same way that we got to get in the game and we got to start becoming serious about building our power as socialists. But Butch Ware, I like Butch. He did a great job explaining his position here.
And Jay, you're in Orlando, so you're where the next Zohran Mamdani, ironically enough, is going to appear in the next year. And that, of course, is Anna Eskamani, who is running for mayor of Orlando. And she is going to have the same opportunity to basically become that person in a city that desperately needs. Again, Orlando is not New York, but there's a lot of similarities in terms of cost of living in Orlando, the fact that there is a corporate, kind of like an almost like a condor that sits over the city. That, of course, being Disney. There's a lot of these problems that are going to continue to surface. And what I think is going to be very telling is Zohran is going to get pushed back immediately from Hochul and Albany. They're going to say, oh, no, you're not raising taxes on Manhattan residents by 2% or the greater New York City area by 2%. And then the question is going to be, is he going to be a capitulator or is he going to be a revolutionary? And it's going to happen fast. And people should be ready. Is he going to be on the side of the people? Because they're already saying, listen, we've been through Bernie, we've been through Obama, we've been through AOC. We already know we know what the signs are. We know if he's going to capitulate or not. So if he's going to, we're going to be on his ass. And then the question becomes, what direction is he going to go in?
He always showed the signs, unfortunately, where he apologized to the NYPD. He's allowing a diehard Zionist to stay on the NYPD. What I see, unfortunately, happening, and I'm not trying to be a buzzkill, there are too many people being cheerleaders on the left instead of trying to move them to their position. So when it was clear that Zohran was going to win, what did the capitalists and the Zionists and the landlords do immediately? They immediately reached out, pushed them, and advocated for him to shift to the center, which he did on policing, like he did when it comes to condemning the Palestinian resistance. So while the center was pushing Zohran, the left became cheerleaders, and that enabled him to already waffle on very big issues. But I know, Jay, I don't know if you was about to chime. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. Do you want to chime in as well?
So on one hand, yes, absolutely. It feels like he's capitulating and moving towards making them more comfortable, which I say you shouldn't. At the same time, with the people who are in New York, they just want their rent to be frozen. They just want free buses. And unfortunately, the need for self-preservation is that high that they are willing to settle for somebody who is just going to make their lives at least minusculely better materially.
What was their option? What was their option?
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the fault of the third parties in New York, right? Because the third parties in New York didn't put up somebody who was further to the left that could have pushed Mamdani in the correct direction. And so I put some of that on them. But at the same time, it's also they lack the funding in order to be able to do that. But it's up to activists. And the problem is that a lot of activists will see somebody like a Zohran Mamdani and they will fall asleep thinking, okay, he got it. We did our job. And that's why I say no. Even when we have a revolution and change this country fundamentally, you still stay on their ass no matter what. Because the problem is that the counter-revolutionaries will keep coming at the gate. So Zohran Mamdani is not radical at all. He is not nowhere near revolutionary. But the thing is that the people who are, like, for instance, you mentioned Anna Eskamani. If she were to run something like that here in Orlando, of course, there will be mutual aid groups that will be on her like crazy and will be a thorn in her side every single chance they get. Yeah. And on top of that, not just that, but it's like we should continue the quest to build dual power because revolution really is the only solution. And we're not going to be lulled back into sleep like they were back when FDR was president into thinking, oh, well, I guess we can still give capitalism a chance. No, there's no bridling this horse. This horse needs to be put down. Okay. But at the same time, we need to have another horse ready before we put that horse down, because then it leads into a vacuum. So use this opportunity to build dual power while this person is just a little bit easier on us, but do revolutionary action and continue to build dual power, do mutual aid. Because a lot of times people are going to think, oh, well, we just need to fall asleep. Like, no, it's like the storm is calmer right now. Okay, use that time to build even harder, to build even faster, because you know that a bigger storm is going to be coming behind that.
I would definitely say the best thing you could say about Zohran, maybe more than anything else, is that if New York and other places get more and more revolutionary, he's much less likely to stand in the way of it. He'd be like, look, this is what the people want. They're going to do what they're going to do. Certainly more so than a Cuomo or an Adams type. And so I would say that in itself is a victory. But Mr. Ware has a few more things to say. So let's finish out, and then we will continue.
I tabbed her, AOC Pelosi. She's the new Nancy Pelosi. She came out as somebody that was very much about, progressive emancipatory politics. But as soon as that fame and that money hit, and as soon as that, the Democratic, hierarchy and oligarchy hit, she has sold out consistently. Mm-hmm. And I have said about their oligarchy tour to Bernie Sanders and AOC Pelosi, I call it the Zionist BS, that this is a really traditional sheepdog mechanism of the Democrats. Every time the party is in shambles because their base is rejecting the genocidal corporate politics that ignores the needs of the people, they bring some progressives out to try to get the base motivated just so that they don't leave and go third party. That's what I mean when I say we don't need a Muslim AOC.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to say something about what you said before, Nick, about, I forget how you said it about Zohran, like sort of like a false idol situation. I don't know exactly how you phrase it. Like
and drug. Something like that.
Yeah. And I think that that's really true. And I think it's because people are very uncomfortable, right? And it's starting to reach higher levels. The higher ups are starting to feel uncomfortable, and they don't like to feel uncomfortable. And the quickest, easiest solution is we'll just vote for the right person. We'll just vote for the right person. And then it'll be good. Like that's our job. We're the voters, and we'll vote, and then it'll be good. And I think that it is so much more comfortable for them to feel like that than to face what is reality, which is you're not voting our way out of this. This is not going to go. The only direction this is going is the implosion of capitalism. It's the only way this is going. Now, how that goes and what it looks like, I don't know, but there's no coming back. And it doesn't matter who they vote for. It doesn't really matter at all.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I want people to stay active and don't use Mamdani as a tranquilizing drug is because I personally think he's overpromising to his constituents in order to win the election. Because what is your mechanisms to achieve these gains for the working class? Because you need to engage in class warfare. You can't substitute class warfare with electoral bourgeoisie, electoral backroom deals. So are you going to mobilize the workers in order to accomplish your agenda, or are you going to make backroom deals? Now, we already seen that Zohran is more willing to make backroom deals, because something that was woefully undercovered, I covered it, how Zohran met with landlords and said he's not going to do anything to disrupt their business model because he was reassuring the landlords. That shows me that his strategy to affect change is not mobilizing a working class to put pressure on the capitalist class by waging class warfare. It's by making backroom deals. It's the same AOC strategy of, hey, y'all, shut up and trust the plan. I'm going to talk to the capitalist class behind the scene and I promise you they're going to give us what we're asking for. That is not how it's going to work. So I'm not trying to just be a negative Nancy. It's a simple science on how you are planning to affect change in the back room, willing and dealing, the sacrificing on your issues instead of being a leader. It's a very big, it's a red sign. For example, when you saying that Cuba and Venezuela are dictatorships, what is he doing there? He conceding to the empire. Yeah. It's the devil's bargain, which made me quit the DSA social democrat movement in the first place. The devil's bargain that they make is they will justify and legitimize imperialist talking points in order to get crumbs from the establishment. So instead of being a leader and explaining clearly why the left should reject imperialist language about Cuba, about why they're wrong about Venezuela, why they're wrong about the Cuban system, instead of being a leader and leading the working class to the right position, he's already conceding. Now, that's just a sign to me. Like, I wasn't negative on Zohran just to be negative. I see these negative signs, and I'm like, man, that's a red flag. And my job as a citizen journalist, whether I'm right or wrong, is to let the working class know what the positive, what the pros, and what the cons on Zohran is. And unfortunately, a lot of people focus way too much on the cons while ignoring these very horrific. They focus on the pros while ignoring the cons. Like for the fact that he's taking billionaire money. He took money from Liz Simmons, a diehard Zionist. And now people wonder why he allowing the Zionists to lead the NYPD. So if you're a Zohran supporter, and there are a lot of people who get defensive around me because they feel like they have to justify their vote to me. Like, you don't have to justify your vote to me, man. I'm just doing my due diligence. But you need to take this information and be squared-eyed about what you need to do to hold this man accountable that you support. You don't have to apologize to your vote to me. You don't have to explain it to me. I just want you to understand what the mission is at stake. So sorry for the rant.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. And I completely, and I don't, first of all, nothing, and we've talked about this the other day, nothing that he's proposing is remotely socialist. Nothing is remotely socialist. Like, it's so ridiculous that everybody somehow thinks that social programs is socialism. And I'm like, it's not even within the same sphere. But my thought about him was, I've had red flags ever since he took Cuomo's comms director. I thought that was very interesting when he was campaigning, that he took, and not just Cuomo's comms director, but I think that he had also worked for, was it Obama or somebody like that? Like, this was a comms director from those people. And so then that's who's working with him. So that was a red flag. The fact that he's still engaged with the Zionists and somehow think that that's a compromise, I agree. That's like saying, we're just going to invite the Nazis to this one meeting. We're going to invite them to this one meeting. We're just going to listen to what they have to say and, whatever. But yeah, it's absurd. So there's definitely red flags. However, if he is able to even get them to have a subsidized supermarket and have one in each borough, or do something that gives a certain amount of free transit, or anything that can help make somebody's lives better, then that's good. And I also don't think that he would be somebody to overfund police. I don't think he is somebody who is going to go out of his, I don't see him as a stop and frisk guy. So I think that is a little bit more hopeful to me. But yeah, they're calling him ridiculous. He's a socialist, he's a communist. I haven't heard him say one thing that was socialist.
Well, this is, again, the whole political landscape today where everybody's a communist or a fascist. There is no conversation. It's all about how do we divide and conquer. That's the whole point. And one thing I will say about Zohran that I do believe he will be better at, especially better than AOC. I actually think he has real leadership qualities, and I think he's actually willing to be radical. Now, how far he's willing to take that is going to be determined over time. I think that he may be a lot more shrewd than we're giving him credit. I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to come in and clean house right away. But I could also see a situation where things are going to change over the next year plus. But I think if he's able to get, which I think will be his top priority, if he's able to get the government control priced grocery stores, one in each borough, that's going to be a game changer. Because I do think that that's something that is going to help with things like mutual aid around the country. People are going to be able to point to that and say, well, explain to me how that Greek billionaire who goes on with Sid Zionazi Rosenberg on AM radio, who's worth $4 billion because he price gouges and underpays his employees, complaining about this commie that's coming to take over New York. Yet you charge for a dozen eggs, $12, and you have this government price-controlled grocery store that's charging $3 for a dozen eggs. Now we have a real problem on our hands because now the system is figuring out a way to try to balance itself. The fear that I have, which I think is the biggest concern, is that the Democratic Party did everything it could and it failed to stop him. But now that he is elected, These are the type of ads that the DNC is throwing out.
Logging you out like a lullaby. Hear that song in your mind. Better sit down for the show, 'cause I'm gonna show you how to start.
So let's
As if anything about him, even as moderate as Zohran could be, nothing about him remotely would equate to these other people.
Isn't that the CIA lady? That's the lady directly from the CIA.
Yes.
You've got the military scandal-ridden, because my state of New Jersey, all of it is scandal-ridden. That's the only way you can get in politics is be part of the New Jersey Democratic Party machine. So that's Sherelle. You have the CIA agent in Spangberger, right in the middle, who's in Virginia. And then, of course, you have Zohran, who I am sure wants nothing to do with these people.
Exactly.
But, of course, they're going to use him for fundraising purposes. And little Buttigieg putting out his stupid congratulatory post acknowledging these two ladies, but didn't say a word about Zohran. So, of course, yes, Zohran is definitely different. However, he's going to have to make a decision. Did you use the Democratic Party strictly to get elected, or are you going to become one of them? That's what you're going to, and that is going to be found out very quickly, because they don't want you. They want you to raise money for them. That they're going to be on your ass about, and that's why they're going to use you in these advertisements, suggesting that, hey, look at the future of the Democratic Party. We don't want his policies. We just want his money.
Do you guys know what he has said about like the police and what his thought, like has he made any comments about like how they used to have stop and frisk for so many years? Because my understanding is that sort of has been brought back under Eric Adams to some extent.
I didn't personally hear anything, but I do that he wants to do like a community board where they actually address mental health issues instead of having police come for the mental health issues, which is a slight step in the right direction.
I was going to say it's okay, but he hasn't. I don't see him as the kind of guy that's going to like go try to build a cop city. Like, I don't see him as somebody who's going to like go out of his way to over militarize his police.
Did he say he's going to hire more cops? Because he already gave up his power and his sovereignty over his office everything that was on this platform before. You might as well throw it out. He was just on Morning Joe saying that he was speaking reckless about the police when he was tweeting about how they are an instrument of the capitalist class in order to clamp down on the working class. Now he's walking all that back. He's walking that back. So who knows what decisions he's gonna make? Like he's not allowed to pick his own police chief. Like he conceded to power on that issue. So what else is he willing to concede on? Now you mentioned earlier how I don't know if Zohran Mamdani will be happy to be featured in those ads, but that is yet to be seen, man, because we see him pounding around with Richie Torres, who needed the PR. That was one thing that I saw very early on. I was like, yikes, man, because Richie Torres, he's facing a lot of pressure for his support in genocide, but Zohran Mamdani was more happy to take selfies and hang out with him. And AOC herself, she sent out fundraising email for the CIA lady, the Zionist lady. She was fundraising for her. And the whole tour that AOC, like Fight the Oligarchy tour, was all about selling a book for Bernie. That's what it was about. But it was also for fundraising for the Democratic Party, which is another reason why these progressives actually serve the capitalist class, even with their critiques, because they're here to lend credibility to people who have none among young people in the working class. That's why Bernie Sanders comes and endorsed Joe Biden. That's why AOC endorsed Joe Biden. And based on what I've seen, Zohran Mamdani is more than happy to continue that trend. That's why he endorsed Kamala Harris. He voted for Kamala Harris. So they're going to be a force that use their popularity in order to fundraise for an evil neoliberal party, which is a negative for why people exist. And we will see if Mamdani will do that moving forward. I'm just saying that he's already shown signs that that's how he's going to operate. He want to pal around with Barack Obama, but will he say anything about Shama Sawant, which I think is very revealing? Or are you going to endorse the one who's running as an independent against a genocidal Zionist Democrat. And you notice all the people who's extremely happy about Zohran Mamdani, the burning media industrial complex who covered Zohran left and right. And I know because I heard from Shama herself, they're completely silent on her race.
Yeah.
Why are they silent? Because she's running as an independent, not as a Democrat. So is it a movement for the working class? Is it a movement against Zionism? Or are we just a movement for Democrats helping the career of other Democrats? And unfortunately, I see Zohran being the latter. The last thing I'll say, and the reason why I'm concerned about this, and it's just based on what we've seen in history, Zohran is a young guy. Do you guys think mayor is the height of his career ambitions?
Well,
No,
he can only go so far, you know.
Yeah. So, like, is he gonna rock the boat to the point where he can ruin future aspirations? Like, if he want to run for Congress in the future, if he governs in a way to show the ruling class, like, hey man, I'm not as dangerous as you think I was, as you thought I was. That will open door for him in the future, and that's what you gotta be worried about. Like, what is the career calculations that these people may make that will make them side more with the ruling class versus the working class? But I'll pass it back.
Yeah. I feel like DSA has lost all credibility in the past few years at a point where I don't even take that. Like, I don't see what the point is anymore.
Why? Can't we just have a little genocide? Can't we just accept that?
No.
It's not acceptable.
No.
Nice.
We are, we're heading for a revolution, and it's not going to happen at the ballot box. It's just not. And I wish more and more people would understand that. And that's why I had been recently talking about the fact that if the left does not get their act straight, that's why people like Nick Fuentes are using words like revolution now, because you are allowing him to take that lane because you're so afraid to actually make a move. And I agree with you. I saw all the people who showed up in New York to Zohran's event, and it was a big powwow shindig for all of the big, content creators that are very Democratic Party adjacent. And like I said, I think you guys would agree. I wish him well, and I hope he does get some things done. But the changes we seek are not going to come at the back. Voting absolutely matters, but the change is not coming.
Although is it there? Is it there? You mentioned Shama, and Shama is one of our PAC slate candidates that we are supporting with our PAC is Shama. So that's why when you mentioned Shama, I put our little QR code there.
And that's why I think, and we've been pushing mutual aid so hard. I think we have to show up. Like we was organizing with the Hampton family over the last summer. It was an honor to see the Hampton House. I was with Rome doing the tour. Me and all the people who was instrumental in building, and it's amazing when you see it in person because the amount of love the community have for the Hampton family is palpable. We had this event and people were driving by. We was planning while we was doing it. Me and Rome, we were talking to people. We was playing like, man, this is what we need to be doing. We need to be forming our own government so we can pressure our capitalist class from within our own central planning model, within our own mutual aid societies. And then when you have your own structure where you're taking care of people's material conditions, then you can put candidates on the ballot. Like, hey, man, these are the people's representative government candidate. Like these are how socialists gained power before. Like if you look at the Marina Party, for example, like I see the people who are always like, man, third parties is a waste of time. It's absurd because you look just south of the border. You were talking about them earlier. I saw your coverage of Claudia Sheinbaum.
Yeah.
Claudia Sheinbaum is one of the most popular leaders in the world, probably the most popular socialist leader in the world next to Xi Jinping. Now, they cut poverty drastically in Mexico because her anti-poverty programs. It's a gigantic win for the working class. How did they get that win? They started their own party in 2013, the Marina Party, and they defeated the neoliberal class. They didn't engage in entryism. We've seen the blueprint. Jen, my friend, the blueprint of running in the Democratic Party to get wins for the working class is ahistorical.
Yes.
Wouldn't I sound silly if there was a list of victories that Bernie Sanders and AOC and them had imagine if they passed Medicare for all. Imagine if they canceled student loan debt. Imagine they increased the minimum wage. I would sound foolish criticizing them, but they have not.
Right.
10-year project. They have nothing to show for it. We're not nitpicking people who have a giant list of accomplishments here. It's been proven my entire life that this strategy of entryism does not work. Does not work. We need to look at other models that work around the world, just like Mexico and other movements where they had own party. But sorry for the rant, but I think that's what our focus should be. And then you should find what your role in that movement will be like. If you part is like JB has an amazing mutual aid group in Orlando. Like, how can you help JB? How can you be a class trader? Like you got, instead of just tying your hopes to, oh, well, this candidate win this election. Oh no, Donald Trump won. We're screwed. Find what you can do and militantly be part of that movement. If you don't have an organization, what are you doing? Either have an organization, be part of an organization, help fund an organization, and do not give into political nihilism. That's my number one message. Relying on politicians is political nihilism, whether you know it or not. Yes. Take power for yourself and take accountability. I'm not a liberal. I think people have accountability. Take accountability for what we can do to improve each other's lives. And I'm glad that you guys are spreading the same message. I think we need as many content creators. We have many people on the left to start spreading this message instead of relying on the Democratic Party for a change. That's my thoughts.
Jay, why do you think so many, and we try to make a conscious effort to do this, and we see this all the time. The one thing that is very commonplace, and we see how big the populist right has gotten, particularly with Fuentes, Owens, and now Tucker Carlson. There seems to be a lot more. There's definitely this division between America first and Israel first. It's definitely the civil war that is on the political right now.
Yeah.
But that pales in comparison to the type of gatekeeping that goes on the left. There is very little cross-pollination, collaboration with these channels. Now, we have very good relationships with a number of big channels, ones that you guys may not agree with necessarily politically. We're very close with Jordan Chariton, Status Quo, Katie Halper, Mike Figueredo, but there's also a lot of guys out there that have these big platforms. They don't like to play nice in the sandbox. They don't actually want to try to collaborate with other voices, even though they claim to be on the populist left. Why do you think that is?
I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Well, just don't mention names.
I'm not going to mention names. However, all right, I'm going to be real with y'all. Unfortunately, because we live in a capitalist system, there are some people that are more focused on self-preservation of their current living standards than they are about actually doing revolution.
Yeah.
The problem is that there's some people who they are podcasters only. We are activists that just so happen to also be podcasters. See, the thing is, like, it's about what your priorities are and what your focus is. Because for me, I look at it like this. You're baking a cake. You got your flour, your sugar, your eggs, you got your vanilla extract, right? You got your, leveling agent, whether it be baking powder or whatever,
Jen's getting hungry now, just so you know.
I have cookies.
Me, I know I am right now too. Stick with me here, Peter. But the thing is voting is the vanilla extract. Mutual aid in building dual power is the flour. Can I make a cake without vanilla extract? Yeah. Now, it will help, but I can make a cake without vanilla extract. Can I do the cake without flour? And so the problem is you got some people that are like, oh, all we need is vanilla extract. And I'm like, you plan on actually making a cake, or you just plan on mixing a few wet ingredients together and see what happens?
Yeah.
And the problem is that so many people are focused on the vanilla extract, but they're missing the piece that is the biggest. And one of the things that I learned, and a shout out to the Florida Palestine Network, that I was actually with their Samud school. I only got to make 2 out of the 3 different classes, but they actually did the Samud school. And they actually were discussing with Kalafani. Let me see. Ghassan Kalafani. I'm sorry, I'm messing up his name. But one of the things that they talked about in one of the last classes, and I actually have my notes here, It says revolution is a choice between shame and death, a path of pain, no certainty of victory. The way we get free is full transparency, not leading the masses, but letting the masses lead you.
Yes.
Being fully honest about revolution takes away the romanticism, and this is a problem. A lot of people romanticize revolution. And romanticizing revolution means that, oh my God, well, I'm being attacked, so therefore I'm going to have my name plastered here. And it's like, well, no, you should be living as long as you can to ensure that the revolution actually happens. And then also it says revolution isn't comfortable if you're doing it right. Right? We have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's not about slogans and songs and a dopamine hit. We also can't put our head in the sand and pretend revolution isn't necessary. One of the options is that one of the options is that we can live with ourselves. It means living with integrity. It's not an easy choice. It is a hard choice. And so the thing is like some people who consider themselves what I like to call the legacy left is that they're making money off the angst.
Yeah.
They're saying, you're pissed off. We're pissed off too. Let's get pissed off together and let's vote for these people within the Democratic Party. Now donate to my Patreon. And the problem is like, okay, so you're saying all that and you're giving a solution that's ineffective because we've been doing this for a long time. The problem is that why aren't you focused on effective solutions? And it's not like we don't have them there. We've had them in the past. So all we got to do is look at what they did and start copying what they did. But the problem is that they're so focused on self-preservation at an individualistic level that they do not want to make themselves uncomfortable so that they make the future more comfortable for others. And so it's more of a selfish thing. But at the same time, they're also thinking about their families and they don't want to put them at risk. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, yes, but at the same time, your family's still suffering today. The people in the global South are still suffering today. And so that's one of the reasons why I think it is tough for them because they never really dove in to an activist, or they think that, oh man, that's going too far and we just can't do it. And they're not dreaming big enough. And they're not realizing that revolution actually starts with education. And being an educator is the best revolutionary you can actually be.
Yes.
I actually think these people are a lot more malicious than a lot of people give them credit for. They know exactly what their role is. They are agents of the Democratic Party, and their number one priority is to prevent a rise of an anti-Zionist socialist third party. The concept of people organizing on an anti-Zionist agenda, it terrifies them if you're not part of Democrats. I know this personally because many of these people, the people who have like MSNBC contracts, the majority parts, these people followed me. Like a lot of people know, I don't know if many people know my beginning. I think you guys do, because I started off when I was on the Bernie campaign. Like this is ages ago, 6 years ago, I was on the Bernie campaign, and I evolved significantly since then. When we started RBN started post Bernie Sanders. We decided to analyze where the left went wrong, and that led me to be even more Marxist, even more communist, even more tanky. But there was a time where I was willing to go along with the DSA strategy, and every single one of these people followed me. TYT, the entirety of TYT has me blocked now. They went from following me to having me blocked. Nina Turner went from following me to having me blocked. And the same people who wanted to be in conversations with me when I was on board with Bernie Sanders, it was significant. I was on Status Quo. I was on a lot of these shows. And then the second that I made a criticism coming from a revolutionary lens, I started to see the amount of anti-communism that actually infects the left in the United States. It's an active, coordinated thing for them to smear anyone who decides to work from the left of the progressive base. That's why when we had our General Strike Summit, we had all the big names, like people like the Hassan Piker, the people who are attached to this idea of running within the Democratic Party. They were smearing us for starting the Jones strike. So not only do they blacklist us, they did smear us in an attempt to discredit us. I've been smeared countless times by these people. You want to know who else has been smeared by these people? Jill Stein. So when Jill Stein ran for president, what happened? You had AOC that called her parasitic. And then following up on AOC, Sam Cedar, Hassan Piker, Vouch, all these people then repeated AOC's smear of Dr. Jill Stein. They all say that Dr. Jill Stein disappears every 4 years. I just had Dr. Jill Stein on my show. She's working on initiatives for Palestine right now. She was arrested protesting for Palestine. But all these gatekeepers that you guys are talking about, since you guys brought it up, they all in a coordinated way, they all released videos within 2 days of each other. Cal Kalinske is another one, Sam Cedar, all the Bernie media industrial complex, which I call them, they all came out with videos smearing Jill Stein. Why? Because she was surging in Dearborn. You had a ton of Arab Americans. There was an article that came out that said that they were looking to support Jill Stein. So what happened? They all smeared her. And that's what they will always do. If you ever organize something by yourself, they will be there to smear. They will be there to smear you. They will blacklist you on behalf of the Democratic Party. That's their job. That's their role. That's the same reason why these people refuse. I mentioned it earlier. I don't want to beat the dead horse, but that's why they refuse to support Shama Sawant. Yeah. And they will never say a positive word about Shama Sawant because they are agents of the Democratic Party. and it's very hard to understand that.
And that's the most glaring example of all the examples that I can use. It's definitely Shama Sawant because she's not just running, she's running against one person. She's running against Adam Smith, who is a 30-year incumbent, who is a Zionazi of the highest order. And they won't even acknowledge that that race is going on. And she is going to raise at least $1 million, in my opinion, and hopefully with our help, because she is one of our top candidates. And
I'm glad you guys supporting her.
Yeah,
we are. Look, we rolled out our first slate, and it was Butch, Ware, Shama Sawant, and Graham Plattner. But now there seems to be so much Graham Plattner controversy that is just so irritating and annoying. When in fact our PAC is designed to be essentially anti-APAC, anti-corporate PAC. So when they're going to go and support somebody, we want to go against them. So that was the premise. So that's why we originally brought him on our platform. But now it's like everybody is freaking out over it about him.
I have to take control of the conversation because our good friend only has 5 minutes. I did want to cover this very important story before you. So one of the things that the Zionazis are known to do is try to redirect the conversation. Anytime it gets a little too hairy when talking about what is going on in Gaza, they always have to say, well, why don't you care about what's going on in Sudan or Nigeria? How come you don't have an opinion about that? Well, here's an opinion about what's really going on in Sudan and Nigeria and why it's going on.
I'm going to say this again. If you want to help the people of Sudan, free Palestine. If you want to help the people of Congo, free Palestine. If you want to help the Christians in Nigeria from Boko Haram, free Palestine. The people of Libya, the Somalis facing Al-Shabaab, the people in Congo facing ADF and M23, those being killed by jihadist terrorists in the Sahel, those being attacked by the terrorists in Mozambique, and all the other populations wallowing in civil war and terrorism around the world. If you want to end all this human suffering, free Palestine. Until you understand that those who are butchering children in Gaza are the ones who are designing, funding, and orchestrating secretly all these jihadist terrorism and civil wars, until you start condemning the single biggest state sponsor of global terrorism, until you have understood the bigger picture, you have not understood anything at all about Israel and how far its evil tentacles and global ambitions really are.
Mm-hmm. Jay, your thoughts, sir?
Look, I got to give a shout out to Florida Palestine Network again because let me read a quick paragraph. This talks about solidarity. It says the cause of Palestinians isn't just for Palestine only. It was also a struggle for liberation across the world. It's connected to a global struggle. It's co-conspiring together to fight against each other's oppressor because our oppressors are the same people and systems. Global solidarity goes across all other struggles. So if we want to fight against Zionism, if we want to fight against what elements are oppressing people in places like Sudan, in Congo, and Haiti, if we want to fight against these oppressors in Harlem, right? Ultimately, the struggle against Zionism, the struggle against the capitalist system is the best way. And when I was there at that event, one of the things that I commented on, I said, was what happens when there's a blockage in one of the ventricles of the heart? See, one of the things that Califani said, and it's written here, right? Califani said, imperialism has laid its body over the world, the head in Eastern Asia, the heart in the Middle East, its arteries reaching Africa and Latin America. Wherever you strike it, you damage it, and you serve the world revolution. That being said, if you cause a blockage in one of the ventricles of the heart, which is basically the imperial core, it doesn't take much. Just a little bit of plaque. Next thing you know, you get cardiac arrest. And so the thing is us fighting in the most sensitive area of the empire is actually easier for us than for somebody in Congo or Sudan to fight against the empire from the outside, because we're literally in the belly of the beast where it's sensitive. So that's the thing. And so what this gentleman is saying is absolutely correct. And I want to thank him personally for saying what he said, because ultimately all of our struggles are tied together.
Yeah.
Very well said, JB.
And on top of everything else, when you heard all of the Zionazis saying, how come you don't care about what's going on in Sudan? And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to go take a look at that. What is it that's in Sudan that is similar to what's in Gaza? Oh, that's right. Rich minerals that they want to get their fucking hands on. Just like every other colonial empire that ever existed in the history of the world. So naturally, Sudan, as one of the largest gold reserves in the world, just like Gaza, has one of the largest natural gas reserves in the world. Why is it that we're blowing up boats in Venezuela right now? Two reasons. One, largest crude oil supply in the world under their soil, and Maduro does not want to do business with the United States. And that's it.
One more thing. Yeah. Also, for people, I want you guys to research who owns the diamond mines in Congo.
Oh, yeah. See, isn't that
interesting? There you go.
Because it's very interesting that the state of Israel is like the world's largest diamond exporter, and yet they have no diamonds. How is that? How is that?
There you go.
You are being anti-Semitic. I can't tolerate it.
I love how you call them.
Get their people too. Do you know? I didn't realize that to the extent how much Saudi Arabia used the Sudanese. Yeah. They didn't just extract the gold; they extracted their people to use them in fighting in Yemen, and that is not something that I was completely aware of. Thank you, Jay.
Appreciate you, Jay. We'll talk again real soon. We're going to do this again real soon. This will become a little bit more of a frequent occurrence.
Yep. Thank you so very much. I'll be sure to have you guys on too. I can't wait to have more conversations. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Very well said, JB. I love how you call them Zion Nazis. that's I love how you.
They are. I mean, let's just be honest.
They are.
Yeah, they really. You know, you look. I mean, again, no defense of the Third Reich, but you look back on it and you compare to what the Zios are doing today. I mean, forget it.
What do you think the ZI is from, Nick?
Yeah,
N-A-Z-I.
Don't get me wrong. I'm with it. I always try and come up with more creative ways to insult them. Like always trying to come up with.
They hate it, and for me, it's important as a Jewish person because it's a way I distinguish amongst people in a better way. Like it's very hard for me to be around Jewish people without having an understanding as to where they are on this issue.
Yeah, I cut people out of my life for way less than supporting Zionism.
Exactly.
I
It's
thought
like
people
having
were
lunch with
way less.
Nazis. It's like hanging out with Nazis. Like, and I'm just going to pretend that that's okay. We're just going to sit here and have a conversation, and we just won't talk about their Zionism, but I know what they think, and we're just going to sit here like that's okay. No, it's never going to be okay.
Prince Anita has a little bit more to say. Let's
Okay.
finish it out.
Yeah, feel free.
It is only once the apartheid state is ended, its Greater Israel project stopped, and its medieval global ambitions to rule the world all replaced by a true democracy in Palestine, with one state for all and everyone regardless of race, ethnicity and religion, and everyone has equal rights and the right to vote in one nation for all Jews, all Christians and all Muslims. Only then will all these malicious killings around the world stop, because they only exist as part of Israel's medieval global ambitions to instigate global conflicts whenever they can, wherever they can, and use their allies as useful idiots to achieve their insidious global supremacist ambition.
Israel and its allies are the state sponsors of terrorism and civil wars across Africa, putting billions of dollars into distracting the world from their genocide by paying Africans to slaughter Africans.
Yes. See, and that's something. And we were going to touch a little bit on what's going on in Nigeria, right? Were we going to talk about that, or we don't need to get into all of that right now? I have some thoughts.
Well, I think it's, again, there's a significant crossover, but it like anything, like we've always said, show me a conflict and I'll show you the profit as the motivation.
Our tentacles are all over this. That my only complaint about this is saying Israel and its allies. It's American empire. It's American empire.
This is exactly why we say globalize the intifada.
Yes.
And this is why I wish Zohran would have explained this instead of throwing the Palestinian resistance under the bus, because globalize the intifada means standing up against this global system of imperialism. We're all victims of Zionism. You know how many people I know that lost their jobs, who was financially retaliated against because they spoke up against the Israeli genocide? I know professors who lost their job. I know quite a few people within my network of activists who've been financially retaliated against. Then you have the people in Sudan. You have all the people in the Congo. You have the people that Israel is bombing, their neighbors, Lebanon, Syria. So when we say globalize the intifada, it means rallying the entirety of the working class against this Zio-fascism, the Zio-Nazis, as I love how you guys call them, because it's a system of imperialism. It's a system of imperialism that's upheld by Christian Zionism, which is a gigantic funder of it. You have Muslim Zionist traders in the Middle East, like the head choppers in Syria, who enable and coordinate with the Israeli state. It's an entire system that must be brought down, which is why we must say globalize the intifada. The UK is a fascist state. The UK has descended into full-blown fascism to protect Israel. Germany is completely gone. They got a BlackRock prime minister who is implementing censorship on behalf of Israel. So the Palestinians are facing the genocidal brunt of this. But we are victims of living within this fascist regime that prioritize the interests of their favorite settler colonial state in Israel, which is meant to be a colonial outpost in the Middle East to control and dominate the Middle East. In order to keep that and maintain that, they implement fascism at home. And we all need to stand up against it. That's why globalized intifada is extremely important. They connect it all. You guys know how many amazing conversations I had with my dear Palestinian brothers and sisters who explain they stand in solidarity with us when it comes to reparations. They stand in solidarity with us in our fight against the police state, because we understand that our struggles are interconnected. That's why you had Nelson Mandela, who fought for the Palestinians. That's why you had the Black Panthers who fought with the blacks for the Palestinians. There's been a long time connection between Africans, African Americans, Afro-Brazilians as well with Palestine. It's a class conscious recognition about who our enemies are, which is why it's horrible to condemn that. And that's why we have to say strong with our chest, we got to globalize the intifada and understand who our enemies are. And they understand that too. That's why they hate it. It terrifies them when they see people acknowledge their true enemy, right?
And if there's one thing that we have learned when it comes to the Zion Nazis, is that whatever they're complaining about, whatever they're screaming from the rooftops about, chances are that's exactly what you need to be supporting and supporting it full throat, because that is it often is shown. This was one of the reasons why Jen ran against Wasserman Schultz, and we're going to close the conversation this evening with a little story that I think you'll appreciate. The one thing that Wasserman Schultz has made her mission in life, that since she's been in Congress, she has been attached at the hip to Netanyahu, Milikowski, and making sure that anytime she gets her hand on an opportunity to push legislation, it's always anti-BDS legislation. That is what she is known for. That is what she fights for. And I'm thinking, yeah, if that's what she's fighting for, then clearly we need to be fighting for the exact opposite, because the exact opposite is the liberation of the United States and the world. That's what needs to happen. And so I want to close with this. We remember where our disagreement happened and where we broke our conversation a few years back. When we went to help Nina in Ohio for her second go around, and we showed up the weekend of the election.
Yeah.
The very first person that we saw the second we entered that building to her headquarters, who's sitting there with his big ass crack showing? Jeff fucking Weaver. And the second I saw him, I said, you know, we could turn around and get on a plane right now, because she's losing this race. Because whatever he's involved in, whatever the people that are involved in this campaign, and I'm thinking to myself, if Jen even had a fraction of this money, knowing what we know in terms of how to run these races, she would have had an excellent chance. But I often think that sometimes these candidates are meant to lose on purpose. Not that they're necessarily trying to lose, but that the system is set up in such a way that if they suspect for even a second that you're not fully on board with our agenda, they're going to cut you off at the knees. And that's exactly how I felt being there. And that's what I thought, yeah, Nick's right, 100%. Like, this is not a question of, do we want to support Nina? No, we do. And I'll always love her. She's a friend. But you still have to be able to criticize your friends. We can't live in this world where we can't actually say, yeah, you're doing this wrong. Like, this is not going to work. And now we're seeing it come full circle. I would like to think that, with rare exception, and there will be primaries this upcoming year for sure, especially in New York. We're going to see a handful of those. But with that said, I don't think people are being fooled anymore. I do think that what I always maintained was Lincoln's greatest saying, which is, you can fool some of the people all the time. You can fool all the people some of the time. You can't fool all the people all of the time. And that is the stage we're in right now. They're running the same playbooks. They're not very good at being subtle. And we are onto what they're doing. And so as a result, these coalitions that we're forming, which is outside of the two-party duopoly, is probably what scares them more than anything else. Absolutely. And so as these conversations continue to evolve, we are going to figure out who's really on board with actually having revolutionary change in this country, because that's where it's going, and those that are not, and those that are, continue to build that coalition out. Final thoughts before we conclude for the evening.
Yeah, I'll just say, man, I love the messaging that you guys have now. I love seeing the growth. I love seeing the change, because that's what it's all about for us, to continue to grow and be a better revolutionary than we was before. Like, that's something I take extremely serious. Like, people who follow my channel, I'm live on Nick Cruz, live on YouTube. Like, I take that very serious. I try and get better every single day. I want to have a working class that completely rejects anti-intellectualism. And I got a lot of things wrong before, and I try my best to right those wrongs. I try my best to always be better. I think that's what we need. And I think not only just the working class, but I think there was a coordinated effort by the Democratic left to create an anti-intellectual working class. No, we don't have to force the vote. Yeah, we're going to support proxy wars. We need to reject anti-intellectualism. We all must work to grow and become better every single day, because I know when RBN, when we first hit the scene, we had a chip on our shoulder. There was a lot of anger, because a lot of people need to understand we are part of the working class. We're not part of the professional. Like, there's a lot of pain. Like, I have family members with no health care. I have people who work multiple jobs who still struggle with food insecurity. Like, I live in the Midwest. Like, things are hard out here. Like, the infrastructure is horrible. So when we first hit the scene, like, everyone had our trauma. We had this anger towards the ruling class, because we saw what what I view to be a massive waste of what was near $500 million raised in multiple Bernie campaigns. And if you count the amount of money that was spent on Jamal Bowman, that was spent on Cory Bush, do you understand how much money the working class wasted? So when we hit the scene originally, we wanted to make it clear that we must reject this. And we came out very abrasive, and a lot of people was afraid of us, and our tone was not necessarily nice. But it's been amazing to see over the last few years, a lot of people acknowledge what we've been calling for before, that the two-party system is not the mechanism for change. And it took a genocide in Gaza to lead a lot of people to this position, but it's still great to see it. The last thing I want to end the stream on is now my number one priority, because we all been turned against the genocidal Israeli state. There's no justice, and this is what I mentioned during my speech when I spoke with Shama. There's no justice without resolution. And I don't know how long it's going to take, but there's no statute of limitations on war crimes. There's no statute of limitations on genocide. So I believe as leftists, as anti-imperialists, living in the imperial core, one of our main demands moving forward has to be not just free Palestine, but justice for Palestine. Yes. We need to see the people who killed Hanan Rajab. We need to see all the people who burned Palestinian children alive. I want to see these people locked up. I want to see them in prison and face accountability for their war crimes. And is it going to happen tomorrow? I'm not sure. But guys, I'm pretty damn young. You want to know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life? Pursuing justice for Palestine. I think that, and I want to form coalitions with anybody to pursue that. Like I have people from all over the ideological spectrum. I have Shama Sawan on, Dr. Joe Stein, have people from the ACP on. Anyone who is willing to pursue that goal of justice for Palestine, I'm willing to work with. Period. Amen. Yeah. So that's why I appreciate you guys inviting me on. I love what you guys are doing this show now. Thank you guys.
Yeah, I just want to say before you go, so something I went off on not that long ago was this idea when everyone's talking about the peace plan, and we're going to have a peace plan, and we want peace. And it's like, no, you don't want peace. Yeah. You want everybody to just not resist. Exactly. You don't want resistance. You don't, that's nothing to do with peace. You're not going to have peace unless there's justice. And that's just the way it's going to be. Like, it's not that I want that. I'd love everybody to just hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Like, that would be fabulous. But we're not having that. There is no such thing as that. That's not a real thing. So it's, major accountability, which I don't know that'll happen in my lifetime. You are younger than me. So there's hope for that. And I am happy to see the Hind Rajab Foundation actually really prosecuting and going after people. Like, that gives me hope. But I feel like when it comes to anybody that's on the same team with this, I feel like I am we. And we are all Palestinian at this moment. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Like, we are never going to be free until they're free.
Well said. Very well said.
Sister. Appreciate you coming on, brother.
Let's do this
again soon. Appreciate all.
It was a great conversation. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Links in the description, guys. Thanks, Nick. We'll be talking again real soon. So that was fun. And if you guys enjoy these fun conversations, which we hope you do, maybe you just like to hate watch like Randy Fine. We know he does. Please go to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You could become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. And also make sure you're subscribed on Rumble. Right now, our channel is heavily shadow banned. We have barely gotten over 400 live viewers this evening. It is obvious that they are toying with us. Okay, let them keep doing it. We're not changing our message. And for those that are here this evening that are supporting us, Tony D., 22 months a member. Deborah Messing is melting down over Zohran.
I know, it's so much fun. Oh, I just want to give a shout out. Irene is in there and she was asking where I am. And I just wanted to say, if anybody's ever wondering where I am, you know I'm not at home if you don't see me smoke on screen. I'm in I'm in like a rental or some other place where I can't smoke indoors.
Fair thee warned. Jim Talib with the $5 super sticker. Always a pleasure. And we really appreciate you being here as always. Look who showed up this evening. Willie, great to see you guys. Subscribe.
That's not Willie. I know who Willie is. Who is that guy? Willie, what'd you do with your face?
It's called an avatar. Go to subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show on YouTube. Psychologically mind effing Nancy Pelosi alone was good enough reason for force the vote, let alone the morality for the need for Medicare for
Absolutely.
all. Amen, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the $5. Pirate Justin, thank you for the $5. Did you all ever cover Brandon Tatum's shameless pandering at the Republican Jewish Coalition? I was traveling for work the past 3 days. I will touch on
We
Tatum.
covered a couple of people's talks at that coalition, but not not his.
We didn't get to the token brothers, and there were a couple of them. Brandon, Officer Tatum, as he likes to refer to himself, and Floyd Mayweather.
What's with that?
Well, he's already a bastard to begin with, so why not just add to it? Guy beats women too, so don't forget about that. Brian Burns with the $2. Massey has tried to oust Mike Johnson. Good. Stop giving me reasons to like Thomas Massey. I already like him a lot already.
Right. You're going to make it hard for us to ever disagree with him, even if we want to, just as a matter of that he's the only person there that seems to have any sort of spine or conscience.
It certainly seems that way. Joseph George with the $5. Zohran will let us down, but have been enjoying all the worst people crashing down.
Absolutely. And that's it right there. That is what honestly has given me the most pleasure over the past couple of days, is knowing that the likes of Ackman and Bloomberg and all these disgusting pigs are just not even knowing what to do with themselves. When in reality, there's nothing they need to do, because Mamdani's not going to really be able to do anything that would truly threaten capital. So they don't really have anything to worry about, but it has been, and Deborah Messing has definitely been coming unglued.
What I will say, and I've been saying this all along, is that Mamdani has already won, and this was before he won at the ballot box. The fact of the matter is that he, as much as anybody, completely changed the narrative on Palestine in the United States. He broke.
It was a referendum on Palestine, and the majority of people are seem to be on the right team, at least in New York.
So as far as I'm concerned, Zohran does deserve that grace. Bless you. And unlike AOC, who likes to spend her time teenage gossiping about Marjorie Taylor Greene, who she secretly is jealous of, Zohran really was a revolutionary in that he was somebody who ran for office. And you have to keep in mind, he did this in New York effing City. He didn't just do this in some mid-level city in the country and defied. Right. He did it in the Lion's Den.
It's not Dearborn.
Yeah, he did it in the Lion's Den. So as far as I'm concerned, I will give him more grace than I will give most people. Now, if he completely sells out and he completely gives in to somebody like Jessica Tisch,
that's concerning to me. And his stance on the punishment bureaucracy will speak volumes to me. How he handles that. And again, I'm loath to call it law enforcement, even though that's what most people seem to refer to it as, but the punishment bureaucracy. Because as a mayor, that is one of the big powers. I think way too many of them have gotten way too off on that power trip of suppress, oppress, control, and especially Black and brown people.
One of the things,
I'm hoping he's not that.
One of the things that Zohran does have control over as the mayor is the allocated budget. And one of the biggest budgets that he has to deal with is the NYPD.
And I'm curious to see what happens. He's keeping on the Zio bitch, but I don't know.
But
and that's where I'm suspect how he handles. I don't even want to call it policing. It's over policing.
Well, that's and that's going to segue into our next discussion, because we are going to talk about the Mamdani monitor. They are going to come at him with everything they have. There are going to be false flags like you can't even effing imagine. That's what's coming next. To the most incredible supporter with the cutest little baby, Saeed again with the
Mohi.
Mohi, thank you for gifting the 50 Revolutionary Change memberships.
Mohi.
You, as much as anybody, are keeping our business afloat because of the suppression that our channel is dealing with right now. Like on a level that is absolutely insane.
It's ridiculous
how hard they're hitting us. But you know what? We can complain about it, but we're not going to change. That's the thing that they have to understand. You're going to have to shut this channel down because unlike other channels, as Nick and Jay were talking about, we are not going to be gatekeepers. We are actually trying to create some type of a revolution in this country where people actually rise up and demand the change and get the change. That's where we're going.
And we need to do it for like the babies like little Mohi.
Amen. Tamils for Peace, Free Palestine. Thank you for the 199 Canadian A super sticker. We really do appreciate it. And it is a nice symbol, I must say as well.
Well, it's I like it. Tamils for Peace.
Indeed. Danny Hell, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. We really appreciate you being here.
Danny Hell, that's kind of, it only makes me a little sad because I always say Izzy Hell. And I don't ever want to, but yeah.
I highly doubt we have any sponsors of our channel that are in support of Israel. I'd be very
No.
Yeah, that was being a mistake.
We just get hate watchers occasionally.
Not to be outdone, Joseph George, thank you so much for gifting 10 Revolutionary Change memberships. We really appreciate it. And so one of the things that we have to guard against.
No, Nancy Pelosi's not dead, Fifi. No such luck.
There's that, you don't know.
She's just retiring. But yes, it does. The amount of maudlinness, and for anybody who knows me, I hate maudlin. There's nothing I cannot stand more than maudlin. The amount of maudlin pomp and circumstance about it, you would think she was dead. That's what I was saying to Peter earlier. You would think that that she died. But no, she's just retiring. Good grief.
She's still going to be
again, money speaks.
100%. If you think for 1 second that she's going anywhere, she's not going anywhere until she's in a box. Just like I just want people to understand that even though I don't know what's going on a daily basis, I am. And
you keep falling over. This is how you avoid. This is Mitch McConnell avoids talking to a constituent. He just falls.
Oh, I just see that.
Oh, and I can't get up.
Topple over. Yes, that was unfortunate, and I'm going to miss Pelosi very much. To kind of warm this up, because this is going to be an interesting topic, I just want to give you just a little taste of the mind meld that Mamdani has caused these morons.
Congratulations to Zohran Mamdani.
You do understand. You do understand that they purposefully mispronounce his name, which is another form of Islamophobic bigotry.
No, they're not Islamophobes. They're not scared of them. He's a bigot. Okay? There's no phobia involved, just bigotry.
With all due respect to any of my Italian paisanos in the chat, hey, Cuomo, you're a fucking wop. How do you like that?
Well, you can't imagine how disappointed I am. This is a horrible blow.
I am convinced beyond any doubt that eventually he's just going to go into his shell and never come out again because he looks like a turtle poking his head out. That's what Giuliani looks like now.
He's ridiculous. Well, at least he doesn't have like the hair dye dripping down his side of his face anymore.
Right now he doesn't.
A horrible blow.
I honestly feel bad. I have friends of mine in New York. My phone is blowing up. They are officially depressed and scared.
And this was also a...
No, Hannity, if your phone was actually blowing up, then that would mean you were probably on Zio Hell's nasty list and your phone would blow up.
Quiet there, Jen.
I'm just saying, he said his phone was blowing up. That just sounds like a
hostile takeover by the Democratic Socialists of America.
And this is a crazy situation. It's a very, very sad night.
Made him the stylish candidate as
exactly.
well.
Exactly. The rapping video.
The cool kid.
Older people. This isn't just Gen Z or Gen X.
I agree with
They just don't know what to do with themselves.
Why don't you just tell them to get off your lawn while you're at it? I mean, that's the only thing that's missing from
it. Right. Boomers and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I see this as a disaster for New York City. And
Zohran Mamdani. All right. Well, I want to bring in our panel. They'll cheer me up. They'll cheer all of us up.
Yeah. The only people that I'm really seeing that are just so fearful and concerned about Zohran winning, which is exactly why, like I said, whether he wants to be or not, he is a revolutionary. The people that are the most afraid of Zohran by far are people with the most ways and means. It is the ruling class that is petrified of him. And it isn't really a question of whether they're petrified of him. They're petrified of the symbol that he represents. What if there was 100 Mamdanis around the United States with the levers of power? It only takes one, but he is going to be under immense pressure not to fuck up.
I think we should cover that. Since we're going to close, I think we should cover that, the follow-up story on that, on the cop that got convicted. Oh, we're on this still. Okay.
Overblown fear-mongering. Mamdani and J Street slam ADL's Mamdani anti-Semitism monitor.
Yes, but see, this is why when I'm sorry, and I know people are going to yell at me for interrupting, but I sent you the two articles because I think that the article that's done from the perspective of the ADL as to what they're doing, and then you do that, and this was the response to them doing that, as opposed to like, this doesn't make sense to go first.
All right, so you want me to pull this and go with the other one first?
Well, it makes sense to talk about what it is they're doing before you explain what
Colin, grab
is an overblown response.
Colin, grab the other article, please. The one that I sent you. We need
here,
the
it's
other.
right here.
Mamdani. Yes, that's it. Okay, I didn't realize.
Yeah, this is the first. Right, this is the one I think we need to address first.
So the one thing that we definitely expect, I think we can mutually agree on, and I think most of the chat would agree on as well. There is going to be a plethora of false flags that are going to be thrown in Zohran's direction. They're going to blame him. They're going to say it's his fault. Now, granted, I think the Zion-Nazis really are on their way out. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Yep. And they're like a spiraling tornado at this point, and they don't know what to do. They've already painted swastikas on a handful of synagogues, and they also caught a rabbi on camera, was caught on camera doing it the other day. So this is not a surprise. This is kind of what is expected. But
remember that montage we showed? Remember that montage we showed like a week or so ago of all the different incidents of false flags, self-sabotage, all these things to set it up to provoke the look of, to create the look of anti-Semitism, anti-Jewry.
Yes. The ADL to launch Mamdani Monitor, Jew Hatred Tip Line. We expect the mayor of the city with the largest Jewish population in the world to stand unequivocally against anti-Semitism in all its varied forms. Now, of course, we know who said that. Green Splat. I got to tell you, though, Gracie Mansion is a nice building. It is. Hours after Zohran Mamdani, is that how they like to make
it's so rude, Mamdani.
An anti-Israel, self-identified socialist was elected mayor of New York City. The Anti-Defamation League said it is launching a tip line for city residents to report Jew hatred. It's so funny. And a Mamdani monitor.
Now, I did pick this article because it is JNS. So this is a very, very Zio-biased news source, which is what I wanted to read. Like, this was the intent, was from this fear-mongering concept of, oh my God, now what are we going to do? We have to track him. We have to do all this stuff. So I want people to understand this is by no means and what I would call like a decent news source, but this is the perspective that the ADL is coming from in terms of why they feel they need to monitor him.
The latter will be a public-facing tracker monitoring policies, appointments, and actions by the Mamdani administration that impact Jewish community safety and security. AKA, if he removes Jessica Tisch from the police commissioner position, they are going to write nonstop articles, and they will harass him and all of his people nonstop about how he's anti-Jew and all this. It doesn't matter what the Tisch family is involved in. Wink, wink. Huge supporters of Israel. Yeah. Oh, they're Siamese twins that got separated at birth.
It's like a two-headed monster.
Yeah. Two-headed monsters. Drawing from tip line reports as well as enhanced ADL research capabilities, this Mamdani monitor will provide transparency around City Hall decisions affecting Jewish New Yorkers, including education policy, budget priorities, NYPD, and security measures.
This really has to make you wonder, why were you not seeking that transparency around City Hall decisions affecting Jewish New Yorkers before now? I would think that you would just want that kind of transparency at City Hall regardless. But no, just somehow because an Indian Muslim man could potentially do what? Create a Sharia law situation. You're worried about having like a 5 a.m. call to prayer waking you up. Like, what are you? I mean, like, these people are just sort of, they're out of their minds.
Well, you've often
They're
said
out of their
that they're the biggest victims, if you will. In their mind, everything is, I don't even know how I would describe it necessarily, but the fear is just completely irrational.
Yes, he is African American. I know he was born in Uganda, but he comes from Indian ancestry. His family is his parents are Indian.
Right.
Yeah.
The ADL also said it will create a hyper-focused and dedicated New York City citywide anti-Semitism tip line and will debut new research capabilities, including early warning research into policies, mayoral appointments, and funding decisions coming from City Hall that could impact Jewish community interests. It's all about the Jews, baby. Mayor-elect Mamdani has promoted anti-Semitic narratives associated with individuals who have a history of anti-Semitism and demonstrated intense animosity towards the Jewish state that is counter to the views of the overwhelming majority of Jewish New Yorkers.
Clearly not.
Clearly not.
Clearly not, Jonathan.
Little boy.
Oh, God. He looks like a penis head.
A very shriveled, ugly penis, I might say.
Oh, yeah.
We are deeply concerned that those individuals and principals will influence his administration at a time where we are tracking a brazen surge of harassment, vandalism that we did ourselves, and violence targeting Jewish residents. This reminds me of the old Simpsons episode with Mr. Burns, who said, "Fellas, there's a kid in the hospital that is depending on you to win today. I know because I'm the one who crippled him." Yes, we investigated ourselves and discovered we did nothing wrong.
The ADL has had their tip line and the comment line or whatever it is that people would report all the anti-Semitism to over the years. And this is long before October 7, 23. And a vast majority of the calls, the reports, or their supposed reports, because a lot of times they don't get reports. They just say they get reports. That's also a problem. They're reporting themselves. And their reports of anti-Semitism for years have been political, anti-Israel, geopolitical commentary that they have been classifying as anti-Semitic for years. So this is the thing. So now that they have a special tip line as opposed to just all of their other tip lines.
Colin, can you scroll, please? We expect the mayor of the city with the largest Jewish population in the world to stand unequivocally against anti-Semitism in all its forms. We will hold the Mamdani administration accountable to this basic standard. Make no mistake, ADL's core purpose is to protect the Jewish people, and we will be relentless and unyielding in our work to ensure the safety and security of all Jewish New Yorkers. I bet you will.
No, you're not concerned with Jewish New Yorkers because Jewish New Yorkers just voted for Zohran Mamdani. So you're concerned with Israel and their image and consistently calling it the Jewish state so as to conflate Judaism and Zionism.
Oh, they're fucked.
You know better, but you're a very bad actor. You're really a piece of shit, actually.
Now, I believe that this is the response article. This
is how even, and J Street, which by the way, is liberal Zio. So that's why I thought this was interesting. So even the J Street cohorts here were coming out against this and saying, this is absurd.
Your turn.
Okay. Overblown fear mongering. Mamdani and J Street slam ADL's Mamdani anti-Semitism monitor. That's going to be tracking him. Describing the ADL's initiative as alarming and J Street chief slammed organization's refusal to apply equivalent scrutiny to Donald Trump despite his long track record of using anti-Semitism and bigotry for political gain. So scroll. and let me see if because we don't need to explain. Up paywall. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. So, and really the gist of it is that as soon as that, we're going to have this Mamdani monitor came out. Like it's just so unbelievably racist. You've never done that for anybody else to be there. Where you've been so concerned about the safety of the New York Jews. But yeah, we could take it down because it's paywall. But the point is that even the liberal Zio J Street organization, which they claim to be in support of Palestinian state, but yet they also still support the concept of ethno-state. So that's sort of an oxymoron. But even they were criticizing this concept that we need a Mamdani monitor. I find that so grotesque. It's just so icky.
Friend of the show, James Lee, put this really well, because what you're also going to see are a number of people that are now going to step down from their positions for one reason or another that is ridiculous. And that also includes not just the NYPD, but the FDNY apparently as well.
Insane. The FDNY fire commissioner is resigning because Mamdani won. The New York Post is reporting that the FDNY boss was concerned about Mamdani's anti-Israel hostility, with a source noting that his support of the Jewish state does not align with the new mayor. I'm not exactly sure what that has to do with firefighting or emergency response, which, by the way, has not been trending in the right direction under his leadership. Because guess how much firefighting experience this guy has? Yes, exactly 0.
That's about right.
Just like Jessica Tisch has no experience being a law enforcement officer, and yet she's the head of the NYPD.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So how does Mamdani not go in there and clean house to some degree? Like you have to do something. You can't just, they will engulf you.
So who cares that this guy stepped down? Good riddance. You shouldn't be. If this gentleman has never served as a firefighter, I guarantee you, firefighters don't want to work under him.
Absolutely not.
Exactly. Like, yeah, that's absurd.
Okay, Robert Tucker was appointed FDNY Fire Commissioner by New York City Mayor Eric Adams on August 12, 2024. 6 weeks before Tucker was appointed FDNY Commissioner, 8 employees of Tucker's former business made political contributions to Adams on the same day. Tucker has never been a firefighter or emergency response official. He is a self-described fire buff who cites his time as a young boy chasing fire engines as inspiration for his service. So basically, he made some donations and gets to cosplay as a firefighter. And to top it all off, guess where he's going next after his resignation? Yes, of course, it is to go to Israel.
Okay. So that's who's leaving. Well, yes, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you, sir. Bye-bye. I'm sure that Mamdani is all like broken up about that one.
Be very aware, especially for friends in the chat that are in New York, the lengths that they will go to not only derail him, but to cause serious harm to people, because the Zios now know that they're losing control. And much as I've said that Milikowski will go to great lengths, including the threat of nuclear annihilation if the walls close in on him, and I do believe the same is true for how far these Zio-Nazis are willing to go to try to derail any type of a left populist uprising in New York. They all say they're going to leave the city, but I think we can safely say that most of them are just a lot of hot air. They talk a lot of shit, and they're just not that motivated. I think that they're just not used to having things not go their way. And finally, they're going to find out what it's like not to have things go their way. I want to close tonight, Jen. I know we want to talk about these the cop story, but
I just want to do a follow-up that I've been trying to do and keeps getting like overshadowed for like the past like week and a half. Like it's not that long. It's been a while. The story is already 2 weeks old, so it's been a while.
So if you Colin, if you have, I want to make sure that we can talk about it. I wanted to give an update on what was going on in Gaza, but if you have the story, Colin, about the.
I can just talk about it. So this is a follow-up on a story that we covered that was news. When I'm trying to get the time of when it happened. Do you remember when? Okay, it was in July of 24. That's all I really needed to know. So this happened in Illinois, and for guys, you might remember, a woman had called for help called the police because she heard noises in her backyard and she thought somebody was trying to get in. And it turns out that this woman, Sonia Massey, did have paranoid or delusions. She struggled with mental illness. And so she called the police, and the police got there, and this is all on body camera footage. And the officer murdered her. He murdered her in her kitchen. He first told her to go get the hot pot off of the stove. When she went to do it and was holding the hot water, he then yelled at her and shot her like 3 times until she fell to the ground. And he was shooting over a counter at her. Like, he was never remotely threatened. And so I just wanted everyone to know the follow-up to this is that he was actually found guilty of second-degree murder, not manslaughter. He was found guilty of murder. And it was very pleasing to me. And I wanted to have like a follow-up to that story. Yes, it's this woman. Can you scroll a little? It's this woman here. That's Sonia Massey. And this is someone that wasn't a threat to anybody. She wasn't threatening anybody. She was sitting she called for help because she thought somebody was trying to get her. And this guy murdered her. And it was one of those that you don't know if there will ever really be accountability. And yet there has now been a modicum of accountability. And yes, this was the lady in the kitchen. And he was convicted of second-degree murder. And that pleases me. That was basically the story. And so that's her. That's Sonia Massey. And yeah. So it was sort of like a slightly good feeling in that there is accountability in this.
There are too many stories that do not get reported. We have a broken corrections system in this country, and that includes policing, because it is for profit. And did you want to say something?
Well, I can answer why it was second-degree murder, because it wasn't premeditated. He didn't get up that day and say, I'm going to go kill this woman. It happened in the moment. Mm-hmm. And also, in order to prove first-degree murder, you really have to be able to prove his mindset. And it's very hard to prove that even unreasonably he wasn't scared for his safety. It's a very hard thing to prove. But the fact that they got any murder conviction is very promising.
Yeah, I've said if you can't abolish policing, which I know some of you want to have, the best thing that you can have is to end qualified immunity. If you end qualified immunity, the police will police the police. That's what will happen immediately, because they have a shield in more ways than one to get away with murder. And in this case, he didn't get away with it. In fact,
no, and I just saw something now that I didn't see it like when I first saw this story like a couple weeks ago. And I don't know if it's true because I just saw it as I was looking for this in a headline, that apparently her family has won a $10 million civil judgment as well.
Good. As far as I'm concerned, but this is.
And I don't know if that's true, guys. Guys, if anybody sees that or verify it or something, I did see something that it looked like they got some sort of judgment civilly.
Yeah. No, I think that law enforcement is just as broken as our healthcare and education system in this country, and that's on purpose.
Because it's not law enforcement. And to that end, we will be, I have a new sort of series segments that I want to do that's called Mission Abolition. And I am at the point now, and Peter and I have had it out about this, because I don't really care what anybody's personal opinions about what they consider to be law enforcement or policing are anymore. I really don't care. The numbers are not on your team. The numbers are not on your side. They don't jive. We do not have actual law enforcement of the laws that would be the most beneficial for all of us. We have laws against poverty. We punish people for poverty crimes. We don't punish the people that cause the most harm to all of us. We don't punish the people that poison our water. We don't punish the people that sell us drugs that they know is addictive. We don't punish the people that have the highest body counts. We don't punish those people. So it isn't about keeping us safe. It's about punishing poverty. And there is no revolution without abolition. Those two things are mutually exclusive. So you cannot consider yourself to be a revolutionary and not support abolition. They go hand in hand.
I disagree.
Abolition serves to oppress the oppressed. That's it. I mean, the punishment bureaucracy. And without that, you are just running around in circles under your oppressor's thumb, basically asking for the date and time into which you can stand with your sign and ask for the things you want. You're never getting it without abolition. It's never going to happen.
Okay. Well, again, I disagree, and I'm allowed to have an opinion about this.
You can have an opinion. I'm just stating it that's just how it goes.
Well, not necessarily. Again, the police could one day decide that they're no longer protecting Capitol. But in order for that,
no, and here's the cake analogy, and I've said it to you before. You can't bake a cake and have all the ingredients in it and then decide you want to take the gluten out. I need this to be gluten-free. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And so,
whoever had flourless cake, I think it's pretty good.
No, you can't undo it once it's done. We have a punishment bureaucracy that is designed to protect capital and punish poverty. Punishing poverty, which, by the way, poverty in and of itself is a violent policy choice. So you cannot have the arm of the oppressor and the boot of the oppressor. You cannot have it around your neck and somehow think you're going to convince them to just let you have a little more. It's not going to work.
Thank you, sir.
There is no revolution without abolition. It just can't happen.
Libertarian Social Democrat, thank you for the $4.99. The real change when the right and libertarians finally turn on the Zio-controlled right politics. They're already doing it. They're already turning on them. That's already happening. Controlled right politicians and woke SJWs are not the answer. No, I agree. But then again, if you are going to be revolutionary, it's not going to happen with things like, woke politics, if you will. That's not going to solve the problem. What is going to solve the problem is economic revolution. That's it. Everything.
People want to know how you eliminate every single prison. You don't need to. It doesn't work that way, but it doesn't work the way that it works now. And I would say that the amount of crimes, of police reported crimes that are considered violent crimes, that are crimes to people. So your, homicides, rapes, robberies, assaults, right? Like that accounts for 4% of police reported crimes, which means that the rest of the crimes are the things that are not hurting people, but are generally crimes of poverty or addiction or mental illness or whatever it is. And so let's say that as a compromise, we cut all police budgets down to just 4%, because that's really the only amount of armed people that we need to protect us against the people that really might do us harm. 4%.
In that case, you could at least convince her that we don't have to get rid of all of it. Just most.
No, I do want to get rid of all of it, but I'm just saying you can have 4%.
Finish what I'm doing.
4%? Yes.
Psycho6, thank you so much for the £4.99. If you are from the UK, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Mark J with the $2. Thank you, Peter and Jen. Thank you for always supporting our channel. Thank you guys for a great evening, great conversation. We didn't get to everything we wanted to tonight, but I'll get to it on Saturday. So smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We love you all. We appreciate you all. And
free Palestine.
good night, guys.